Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find more episodes on any podcasting platform such as Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and make sure to follow Spoiler Force Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch.
This is Mark Witten, and you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast. Set your heart ablaze.
This is a FlowGasm Beats production.
All right, so this is episode 103 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. So it's been a while since I've done anything podcast related. It's been about, roughly like 2 months, I think, since I've uploaded an episode, or at least recorded an episode. The last episode I uploaded was 102 with Greg Sixero. That released around October, but I recorded that around the end of September. So, but yeah, it's been a while. I've been busy with like a lot of personal things in my own life. I'm currently back in Michigan too, so which kind of slowed things down a bit. But enough of that, though. I have my cousin Michael Outtaphone back on the podcast again. If you don't remember, we talked about the Wongfu Productions. What was it? What was the
Strangers Never Again?
Strangers Never Again. That's who it was. Oh my god! Like I went blank when I was trying to think of that.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and also I just want to address too the reason why I have these headphones on. I'm actually recording through my phone, which is probably one of the best features that I like about StreamYard that makes it convenient is that you can actually use your phone also and not just like a desktop or a laptop. So this is what makes this program work well, at least for my style of podcasting at the moment. But yeah, man, it's been a while, and I'm glad that Michael jumped back on the podcast here. As you can see in the title, Rascal Does Not Dream of a Bunny Girl Senpai. It's an anime that dropped around 2018-ish. The first season is finished, and there's also a movie that's a sequel to the series. But before we jump into that main topic, I wanted to ask Michael here, what anime have you been watching as well since before we started watching the Bunny Girl Senpai series?
Let's see. I should need to kind of calling me out a little bit. I've been slacking, but I mean, a couple of ones that we talked about, but Gridman and Dynasty on those two. What else? I started watching Kaguya-sama just because. Oh no, actually, I'll take that back. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. You turned me on to that, and
that's right.
that really kind of gave me the like a taste of like the slice of life genre, and it really kind of like, I don't know.
Made you more of a weeb.
Like, I mean, you could say that. You wouldn't be wrong, but it's more so that, like, I don't know. It just kind of seems like sitcom-y, like,
yeah,
like you're watching like How I Met Your Mother or Friends or something like that. There's still a story, like an overarching story, but you kind of like it's less like and you don't feel like you have to invest so much into like the world building of it. But having said that, Kobayashi's Dragon Maid really like sucked me in. But when I finished that, I really wanted to kind of watch more slice of life, so started watching Kaguya-sama. And then I remember you talking with you about it, and I think you got like 2 or 3 episodes in, and then you mentioned that you wanted to watch Bunny Girl Senpai before Kaguya-sama because Bunny Girl Senpai's finished, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like a bad idea. Let's do that, because I don't like juggling and going back and forth between anime. So I'd rather just get this out of the way than binge Kaguya-sama. But yeah, that's how That's how we got to the topic of the video.
Yeah, it's you know, to kind of just piggyback up off what Kobayashi Dragon made, like that anime. I've been talking about this series like on the past couple episodes too. If you have not, any listeners or watchers, if you guys have not watched that series, just give like the first episode I watched. I got hooked immediately after watching that first episode, and you know, I had some clips that I watched before I was even introduced to the series. Through like social media and stuff like that. So I thought that series was freaking amazing. Anime summer of the year, or anime summer anime of the year, for sure. Story, the art style, the animation, even the fight scenes between Elma and Toru, like dude, that was like top tier type
Bro.
animation. So much better than some of the shonen stuff that's out there.
No, that's exactly everyone's. It's kind of like a universal thing. If you've seen it, you can agree that like from slice of life anime, the action sequences are better than most shonen tries to be. It's like it's insane.
Yeah, slice of life anime has been something that I've been recently into. I think for the past almost a year or so. Shout out to our cousin Mong. He's been putting me on some like a lot of more, I guess, tear jerking, more wholesome style anime series versus like the typical, you know, shonen protagonist or like adventure type style anime series. Because I believe that's a little bit more mainstream towards like a lot of more fans who are not into the anime lore and all that stuff. And it's funny too. I mentioned you being like getting more weeb. I'm finding myself to be more like that too, because the more anime series that we watch that are not really more mainstream, you can see how more weeb it is. So like, start getting into that culture of like liking more a more broad style of anime, like versus just being secluded in the shonen tropes and the typical Naruto, Goku, Vegeta type stuff.
Well, I think I told you before, but like one of the my journey in anime started like back in, my age is gonna show here, but back in high school. I was actually taking Japanese, the Japanese language course, and I was of course there with other otakus. And some of them, you know, at that point, like, you know, my only exposure to anime was like, you know, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, you know, whatever's on TV, Rurouni Kenshin and stuff like that. And then one of my classmates kind of got me into some other anime, and the one of the ones that really stood out to me was like Azumanga Daioh, which is like a really really old like slice of life like comedy. It's just real slapstick humor. I saw it and I couldn't help but like get into it. I didn't like. It was really hard to find the episodes back then. You know, someone either had to have them on DVD. You couldn't even find them on the internet. You probably could, but you know, it would be like back to the LimeWire days where you're like,
Yeah,
it takes a whole week to download one episode. I'm just like, that's too much.
catching all those
And then-
viruses.
Pretty much, yeah. And then another one was Full Metal Panic Fumafu, which is kind of like a spin-off of Full Metal Panic, which is like a mecha anime. But yeah, so this was me back then, and then you telling me about, I think it started with Rent a Girlfriend, and then when I started watching that, it kind of reawoken like how much I really was into like slice of life back then. And then it got further like solidified when I started watching Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. I'm like, okay, all right, that's it. I'm into I'm into slice of life now. So
I mean, there's also like animes like Konosuba too that are kind of have like that sitcom kind of feel to it, where
oh my god,
like how you mentioned, like there's an overall story, but then there's like episode by episode, it's just them on their adventures or like what they're doing on a day-to-day type of basis.
I mean, because I was trying to get one of my friends to watch Konosuba, Philip, and I told him that, like, look, you don't even have to worry about like like when you watch it, you're not thinking of the plot. You're not thinking of like the backstory and where the show's headed. You don't really care about where the show's headed. You know that Cosmo is going to be in debt. You know that Aqua's going to be useless. Megumin's got one attack, you know, like per episode, and Darkness as well, which is Darkness. So,
Yeah,
but like that, but that's what makes it so great is because like you know what to expect, so you're not really like fishing for something new, but you just want to sit there and laugh, and that's really I that's one of the things I love about it. So
what's great about Konosuba too is like each story or each arc they go through, it's always their fault. Like the main squad, that's always like Cosmo's team's fault. Like they do something that makes the event happen. Or like for example, like that episode where the birds were coming at them, and it's because of Darkness's her the metal on her armor.
yeah, the armor.
And then like when they beat that, then all the zombies stuff come, and it's because of Aqua because she's the goddess, so she attracts all the undead. And so like
yeah, the best part of that though is when when they're like, "Oh my god, they're so brave! Thank you so much." And Cosmo's like telling himself like "Come inside. I'm sorry. Like, this is our fault. We brought this upon you."
yeah, it's freaking hilarious, man. I love that's like my favorite show. And speaking of Konosuba, I've been playing the Konosuba Fantastic Days on mobile. I believe you can play it on desktop too. I think through the Google Play app. But they're currently going through the Ray Zero event, and I finally got Rem not too long ago, so I've been geeking out about that. You haven't watched any Ray Zero yet, have you?
I have not. It's on my to watch list.
Okay, because I know there's season 2 ended last year, so it's not too bad. It's an overall great story. It did take me personally, it took me some time to kind of like finally get into it. Our cousin Mong loves that series. There's like a certain arc in that show where I guess just a lot of people in general that love you'll see why like there's so much love for Rem, and like why she makes the sales when it comes to like merch and like the figures and all that stuff. So
she's a popular girl.
Yeah, Rem is supposedly best girl. I like to fuck around and say like it's Amelia, because I have like a blanket with Amelia on it, and so like all my friends who are into Ray Zero are like, why do you have Amelia, man? It's all about Rem, you know.
Figured.
But you know, with all this anime going on too, and like when I saw you last time when I was stuck in Dallas, we watched the Gridman series. And then I finished up the Dyna Xenon series a couple weeks ago too. You know, we'll probably get into this show on its own episode eventually down the line. But just for listeners who don't know, can you kind of like just give your thoughts on just like a general basis of what you thought of like the whole Gridman series?
Well, okay, so you know, Gridman. For those who don't know, it used to be obviously it's a it stems from Japan, but it was called it's called Gridman there. It's like hyper agent Gridman or something like that. But it actually had a kind of the same treatment as like Super Sentai, the Power Rangers. So you know, do you remember in Power Rangers where like you can tell like the camera quality changes when they go into their fight scenes? Well, because that's the Japanese version of it. So Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad was what it was known as here in the States. And I remember having a videotape of it. So long story short, I was very invested in that Tokusatsu series, because like it's just, you know, it was so cool just watching him like go and jack into like a computer grid and fight these monsters, and then also like, you know, what's his name, Matthew Lawrence, one of the Lawrence brothers was in there, so that kind of stuck with me. I had some toys too, and Monk probably doesn't remember, but he actually broke one of my toys, like my my Superhuman Samurai toy, and I was like so gutted when that happened, because it's like, you know, you couldn't fix it. But it's funny that it comes full circle that like we're all into anime now. But so pretty much it's I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's pretty much kind of a if you don't know what like tokusatsu is, it's like it's a genre where like pretty much TV shows were pumping out these shows, yeah, to get views, but they were more interested in getting like action figure sales. So that's why you saw all these like the monster, like the kaiju and Ultraman, what is it?
Kamen Rider.
Ultraman, Kamen Rider, yeah, like even Beetleborgs and Power Rangers. These were all like a part of the Tokusatsu series, and it's, even in Gridman, they kind of go. The people in Gridman are into the Tokusatsu, but it's really good. It's so Gridman is kind of what starts it off. Dynazenon kind of takes a certain twist on it. I've probably gone on too many tangents, but it's pretty much about a these kids who are in their universe. I'm gonna kind of like briefly give the premise of both of them, of Gridman and Dynazenon. And there just seems to be some weird things happening, and then they start, kaiju start showing up, and then these kids pretty much become kind of the heroes of the show. There's a lot of psychological aspects to both of them, which is one of the things I really love. Over analyzing pretty much, and they one of the things I love because they pay so much homage to the original series. So I hope I answered your question. I got a little too overzealous about it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I think it's great. It's a great kind of like a quick little recap of what we've been watching. But yeah, Gridman and Dynazenon, like those, I liked the story that the show brought in. They still had like that childhood nostalgic kind of feel to it, but as an adult, when you watch this show, there's so much more in depth when it comes to the writing of the story or like the overall show. Gridman had more of the more of the human aspect of it, like humanizing these characters and the even the villains at one point. But Dynazenon definitely had more of the story driven characters where you get to know each individual character and even the anti-heroes in there. I really like how what this anime series has done with like using childhood nostalgia and revamping it into like a better storytelling series versus just catering to like the kids with merch and toy sales and pretty much just the overall everyone, because when watching these shows, even like with Ultraman, like everyone only really watched it because of the fights of when Ultraman transforms and fighting the kaiju.
Yeah, it's just you're a kid, you just want to see action.
Yeah,
when the Megazords finally assemble, you're like, let's go.
Yeah, so like as an adult watching this series, I just think it's really great to see like there's so much more depth to it now, and like you said, there's so much homage and so much just like Easter eggs of the original series, or like each character has like an Easter egg of what's happened before and prior, like, and I think some of the continuity from the original series is kind of kept into anime too.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really great.
I mean, it's okay to kind of talk about some of the events that happen. Or should we save that for another time?
You can say like one or two. Just don't go too deep into it, because again, for those who are listening, this Gridman and Dynazenon, we're gonna have our own separate episode for this because there's a crossover I believe coming next spring with both shows. So we're waiting for that.
But yeah, so there's like like there's a couple things that I didn't quite fully understand because I didn't watch all of Gridman, the old TV series, but I went back and looked at them. And the kaiju girl, she actually
A second, right? Her name.
yeah, second, yeah. But you don't really know who she is until they introduce her in Dinosaur, but that she's a kaiju, but she poses no threat. And then they kind of show who she is because there's that the turtle like dragon at the very end. I kind of looked it up and saw that that was a kaiju that Gridman actually saved. And then I remember it turns around because so Gridman saved them, and then she wanted to repay a debt to Gridman. And then you see Auntie at the end, and she asks like, are you a kaiju? And he says something along the lines of like, yes, but I repay my debts. And she kind of like starts laughing because like that's what she's doing too,
Yeah. And don't get me started on Auntie, man. Like that's why I want to get into this.
That's gonna be such that's gonna be a good chunk of.
Auntie's a fucking goat, man. Like he's what makes both shows, man. And spoiler there, because if you have not watched any, he does appear in both series, but I won't say when. But he's definitely I believe he carries the show for sure.
And he carries that show, and he's such a good like a cornerstone of like the Gridman series, because I remember he has probably like the most character development. Because I remember when you were here and we were watching it, you were laughing at him because there was the one of the kaiju where Auntie was, he wants to be the one to kill Gridman, so he won't let another kaiju do it. So he's just like jumping up like and like trying to hit this ghost one, and he just keeps doing it. I remember you laughing at that. So but to see someone go from like that to where he is at the end of Gridman and into Dinosaur, it's like such a drastic change. So, but in a good way.
Yeah, so we'll leave the Gridman and Dinosaur talk at that. So anyone who's, again, if you're interested in hearing that, definitely tune in. Me and Michael will definitely talk about this series eventually. I don't know when, but we will. That's on the list of episodes. One more topic though before we get into the main topic is Shield Hero. I finally got into that. Mong's been egging me on to watch that, along with like Code Geass and like some other animes. But when I was in Oklahoma, thank God we had internet. So the time, all my free time I had, I spent it binging Shield Hero, and that first arc really drew me in. And it kind of fell off at times too. But overall, I thought this was an amazing anime. Because the reason why I did not watch it, because I thought it was overhyped. I hate the idea of watching series that everyone's like hyping up, and if I'm already like a few episodes behind, then I'm definitely not gonna watch it because I have to catch up. So I might as well just binge everything. But I gotta say that this series really they had its own nice spin to the whole isekai genre, and I really enjoyed what this series brought. So that's gonna be like another episode on itself. But I know, Michael, I know you were into Shield Hero too. You have some figures as well.
Yeah, I've got Raftalia, who is right about here. Best girl, not waifu, but best girl.
I can say I was definitely proven wrong when it came to the whole best girl awards. When it came to between her and Nezuko, Raftalia definitely won me over. There was a quote that she said that even when the whole world's against you, I'm with you type thing. Let me be your sword. To Nafumi. So I thought that was really cool. But speaking of them though, Nafumi and Rastalia, those voice actors share the same roles as the main characters.
And when you
Senpai.
told me that, like, Jesus Christ, my mind just got blown.
Because like the voice actress for Raftalia, I can't really hear her in Bunny Senpai, but then with Naofumi, you can hear his character in Sakuta. So I thought that was really cool to hear that. And also Mai plays or I don't know her name, but the voice actress for Raftalia and Mai, she's also the voice of Nobara for the Japanese version of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Asami Seto. So
yes, of course, Michael would know. I don't know.
of course, she's probably taken. I don't want to say the crown for my favorite seiyuu, but definitely on my top 5.
Before we jump into Bunny Senpai, I do want to address I believe my favorite female seiyuu is definitely Sora Amamiya. Like, she's a fucking queen, man.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of my favorites for sure.
She's definitely like. It was crazy though, because so I even though I've seen some of Konosuba, like to me first she was Mizuhara, and then to see her go from that to Aqua is just like it's just night and day. But what was her name? I know you like Maya Uchida too.
Yeah, Maya Uchida. Yeah, she does the voice for Norman and Promise Neverland, and I think she has a lot of other major roles too. I just can't think of it on the top of my head, but she's also in the Bunny Girl Senpai series.
Want a simpler way to record both video and audio podcasts? Then sign up with StreamYard. StreamYard is the perfect program to create podcasts, host live streams, and even do video calls. There are many tools to help you create and design your own personal studio. You can screen share, read live comments, and stream to multiple destinations such as Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also download your video and audio recordings after each session. Follow the link in the description, and once you sign up with the basic or pro plan, you'll earn a $10 credit to use for StreamYard. Do you want to start your own podcast? Then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast onto many platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout also offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and also support Spoiler Force Podcast. Happy podcasting. If you're into anime, manga, or anything that's from Japan, Otaku Detroit is the place for you. Located at 513 West, 11 Mile Road in Madison Heights, Michigan, you can find a variety of manga books, anime figures, collectibles, posters, snacks, and even authentic items from Japan. Stop on by to see store owner Matt and let him know Spoiler Force sent you.
But yeah, man, let's just dive into it, man. Bunny Girl Senpai, this is the main topic here. Yeah, I guess I'll just start off with how I got into the show. Sorry, that was my light there. How I got into the show was definitely just through the rabbit hole of animes when it came to like finding new stuff to watch. I don't recall being ever introduced to this. I just found it on my own when I was watching like all the slice of life stuff, and I'm trying to think of when exactly Oh, you know what it was? The Peggies. That's what it was.
Okay. Oh,
the Peggies. Because their song Kimi no Se, that's the intro or the opening for the series, and because of Rent a Girlfriend, that's how I got introduced to the Peggies. So I absolutely love the Peggies. They're one of my favorite Japanese bands out there right now. They just released their latest album, The Garden, so definitely check that out.
I do have to say though, like, because there was a time where you're posting so much Peggy stuff. I'm like it's it's just J Rock, I was like, then I was kind of thinking like, man, Ricky's really gone off the deep end. And then little do I know, you start pulling me into, and now I'm like, damn, they're actually from a musician who has played electric guitar, been on bands, and their level of craft is like, even though they're just a trio, they can make they make it work so freaking well. And they're all really talented. Like the feel that they're able to get from their music, even like more sad ones like Anemone and Hanabi. Um, they are like uh, definitely definitely my favorite. And then you got me on Chili Beans too. So
Oh, dude, Chili Beans they're so underrated, man. Like I look at their stats on like social media and on YouTube and stuff. Like this band Chili Beans deserves so much more. And I think what kind of drew me into this whole style of J rock, especially with like leading females like this, was probably you remember that old show Josie and the Pussycats, and like how they would
yes,
play
yeah,
music and
yeah.
like how they would solve cases, and apparently there was like the whole Archie universe too.
Right, yeah.
But that was actually one of my favorite shows growing up. And then they had that movie too with Rachel Lee Cook, Rosario Dawson, not Tara Reid, Tara Strong. Is it Tara Reid? No, Tara Reid. Tara Strong's the voice actress. Yeah, Tara Reid. And I actually my sister had that on VHS, and I remember I got into it because she kept watching the movie a lot. And plus, Rachel Lee Cook is freaking amazing.
She's in a lot of our hearts.
She's so gorgeous, man. And she's the original voice of Tifa before the remake for Final Fantasy VII. Kind of wish that they kept her in there, but they swapped all the actors and actresses. But enough of that though. Yeah, but like the Peggies and Chili Beans and just that style of music, that's what really drew me into like more J-rock and Japanese style music. That's what I find myself listening to more of that, and then like lo-fi music too, or like lo-fi beats, and I absolutely love that. But back to Bunny Girl Senpai, yeah, through the Peggies, that's how I got like exposed to that show. Like it's just you see like photos, you see videos and clips. And I think when I was watching Your Lie in April, I got really into that, and I think it was either last year or the year before during the holidays. I on Right Stuff, the anime website store, on Right Stuff, they had this sale going on for Aniplex products, and Your Lie in April and Bunny Girl Senpai, they were like half off. And through freaking Suzzle, because I use that and I hate myself for using Suzzle, I used Suzzle, and I paid for both the exclusive box set for both Your Lie in April and for Bunny Girl Senpai with the movie.
I'm so jealous of you.
And so I bought all of them for like half off. But it's just, I held, but like it's funny because I never even watched Bunny Girl Senpai, but I just bought it because it was half off, and then just now recently, finally, like a year or two after holding it hostage in my room, finally watch it. And so, Bunny Girl Senpai was definitely something that I was not expecting to be what it was. I thought that originally, just based off its premise and just not even the premise, just like the artwork and how it's drawn out. I really thought that this was going to be like a comedic harem styled anime Tenchi Muyo, like it's just who's the protagonist going to pick out of these girls and whatnot. Yeah, something funny like that. And boy, I was wrong. The first 3 episodes was definitely shocking. But before we get into that, Michael, can you let the fans know how you got into Bunny Girl Senpai?
It's probably around like the beginning, the middle of 2020 is kind of when I started recognizing, I've always really been like I've always really noticed anime. I never really dived into it, and I know I'm gonna get crucified here, but Attack on Titan, Naruto, Bleach, Boruto, My Hero. These are not shows that I'm like interested in. Like I know they don't interest me enough to want to get into. As I said before, like they require a level of like investment. Like you have to invest in their storylines. You can't just like jump into the middle and like understand what's going on. You're gonna miss a couple of things, so there is that level, like, okay, well, if I want to watch the latest episode, I have to go watch all these other episodes. That's another deterrent for me. So I'm not saying I never will go watch them. It's just I'll eventually get around to it. But so at 20, so that's how it's been, prior to, let's just say like 2020. But then I started talking with you a little more, and you started recommending some anime. I remember actually you invited me to be on an episode of Spoiler Force, where we talked about Demon Slayer, Promised Neverland.
Oh, that was the that was that 3 hour plus episode that we
Yeah,
did.
that was that 8 hour. Geez, oh, or it felt like 8 hours.
Well, it was 8 hours, but I
Oh,
cut that
it
down to
was.
3. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So that was like, okay, I think I'm ready to get back into anime. Because again, I used to be into it a long time ago. Back when it wasn't accessible. I'm like, okay, this would be a good challenge for me because I really want to get back into it. So started watching, Demon Slayer, Promised Neverland, and then Rent a Girlfriend. I'm like, damn, okay. So that kind of like got me back into anime. So I've always been looking, started watching Konosuba. I'm more interested in making my list of anime to watch and actually watching anime, and I'm very guilty of that. But one that I always kind of see is, Rascal Does Not Dream of a Bunny Girl Senpai. And like, I'm just like, okay, because like I think I've told you this already too, but like having started to get into an anime figure collection, you notice a lot of bunny girl figures, and these are usually in a 1/4 scale, and they go for a lot, and they're very popular. So in anime culture, bunny girls suits are popular. I really could care less for them. Like they don't seem like if it's a fetish, I'm not into it. So having said that, when I see this, I'm like, it just seems like an egregious like fan service, like rom-com, and I'm not really into it. The art style always looked really good. But I know it was always held in high regard too. Like it's very highly acclaimed. So you can't get into anime and at least unless you're strictly like a shonen junkie, you can't get into anime and not know about it. Just because people are going to be talking about it. But one of the few things that really drew me into it is because after watching Jujutsu Kaisen, and Shield Hero and Asami Seto, and Kujo Sara from Genshin. I saw that she played Mai too, and I'm like, okay, that's one reason to get into it. But then I like then I as you said, I got into it. That was a question, right? I know I'm going on a lot of tangents. Oh yeah, so it kind of made sense because I wanted to finish one that I wanted to watch before I start one that's still ongoing, which is Kaguya-sama. So yeah, I started. I think I don't know if you remember. I think when you were telling me, I felt like we came to a consensus that we're both gonna watch it. So
yeah, you said you watched the first episode, and then that's when I started. And then by the time I knew, I was on like the 5th or 6th episode. You had
so I
moved on yet.
So I started before you, and then because I remember because we were messaging, and then you're like, I'm on episode 5. Later that day, I'm like almost done. I'm like damn, slow it down. But I see why you weren't able to though, because it sucks you in so like deeply, and you become so like emotionally invested in it. I won't say anything till we get into it, but yeah, that's how I came about it. I've always noticed it, but it took a few things to take place for me to finally come to the decision to commit to watching it.
And this anime, there's so much like excuse me, there's so much, I guess, not so much inspiration, but there's so much influence that this series carry. You know, you hear the ending song and TikToks and short reels and stuff like that.
Right.
He would do like the bunny girl senpai memes, or you know, like the videos I sent you, like how there's some dudes out there like, well, you know, here's my girlfriend, but you know, and she's not visible.
Yeah, and it's invisible.
Yeah, and then there's like cosplay girls who dress up as Mai, and there was the one I sent you where the girl like put on the bunny ears and she
Bunny,
disappears.
she just disappears.
Yeah, you know, so like there's a lot of influence that this anime has, even though it's been out for the past 3 or so years, and you know, so that I think there's like a lot of mainstream like attachments to this, and that's I think that's why like what really drew me into the series, like why it was on my watch list too, and it took me forever to find out that it was because of that ending song, like that, because I heard that song first. I can never find like who was the artist, or like I can never find where that melody came from until like I started watching Bunny Girl Senpai. I was like, so that's where it came from, and you know, and that's why like we were talking before, like how we can't skip the opening or the ending because both soundtracks are freaking amazing. And,
right.
yeah, so like I literally just binge watched the season 1 and the movie earlier this past week, like Tuesday or Wednesday, and you know, overall I thought this was, I'm gonna be honest, like if you follow me on social media, I made a post on Facebook and on Instagram, like, you know, I thought this show was good. I enjoyed the storyline, but I thought it was a bit overhyped. After digesting the story this past week, do I still feel that way a little bit? It's not as overhyped as I thought it was, but still, I there were certain aspects of the show that I did not like. Was the fact like in Bunny Girl Senpai there's something called adolescent syndrome or puberty syndrome, and this solely affects the characters because they're coming of age, or you know, they're close to adulthood, and they're experiencing major life decisions or experiences, and it's affecting their adolescence, their youth. And so each
It's
individual,
like manifesting in
so
reality.
so each character has, each of the main girls have their own story arcs, but Sakuta, the main character, he's involved with each and one, or he's involved in each of their stories too. So you know, we first kind of I believe the first episode kind of like talks about what it is a little bit, but what kind of drew me away was like, I wish this was solely like I mean, it is like a focal point of the story, but I wish there was more of an explanation of what this phenomenon was. They just kind of give you like, oh, you know, this is what it is, and that's it. They don't really touch up on that no more. You kind of just see what these characters go through, and that's what kind of threw me off a little bit, because I you know, they throw in like a lot of like psychological and scientific stuff, you know, quantum physics, Schrodinger's cat, I believe
Quantum
what they call it, like,
entanglement.
entanglements and time skips, and Lappis's demon, I think that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And so like there's a lot of these theories and whatnot, and it kind of just like drew me away from the story, because I got more into the whole science of it versus like what Sakuta was meant, like what Sakuta was supposed to do, you know. So I got too
Right.
I got too technical with it, so like it kind of like, again, that's what drew me away. But overall, this overall story, man, it's definitely emotionally very driven, very in depth when it comes to like the struggles of growing up and being, you know, a young adult, and a lot of the whole young love aspects of things, and you know, trying to find yourself, a lot of the simple slice of life tropes, but there's just more meaning behind it when it comes to each character. And you know, they start off with my story, how she's like a talented actress, you know, who started off young, and then you kind of find out what her deal was, like her syndrome was she was invisible, you know, and so she was not being seen by the rest of the world besides those who kind of acknowledged her existence, which was Sakuta, because he liked her from the get-go, right? Was that it? I don't really recall.
So oh yeah, he was he goes about and he talks about how like she's this very like renowned actress who goes to their school, and then you know, you can tell that he kind of is drawn to her, But I think he really starts to develop his feelings when, when they take the train to that one city. I forgot. And he at his core, and because of things that transpire in the anime, wants to help her.
Oh yeah, and I forgot to bring this up too. Sorry to cut you off, but he saw her in the library in the bunny suit.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's the driving force of why they started off. Why he started helping her. Because
it's ironic that it's called Bunny Girl Senpai because she only wears the bunny suit like twice. That's it.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, she's senpai because she's older than Sakuta.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So Sakuta helps Mai with her syndrome, right? And what I liked about this arc was like it wasn't about, or I mean it is, but he was helping her because I like the fact that he was the only one that could help her. And as the story progresses, like he's trying not to forget her, and he writes stuff down in his journal, like, I met her on this date, and what's funny, like as we go on with this episode, like each date in this series, like there's a meaning to it, or like it's important to know the dates of the show, like why each progression of like when it comes to the seasons or the semesters of the school, like he writes it down and tries to remember what he did with her. And then, before we get into like the big part of the arc, what were your thoughts on how this, I guess, transpired, like from Sakuta meeting Mai into helping her with her syndrome and whatnot?
I thought it was really well, they use this as a device to kind of like to lead into other plots, like the when he met Shoko on the beach, and then how like she just disappears. This kind of left me asking a lot of questions, but that whole journey, I really love the way that it's written. It's like it's not just one arc, and it's everything about that arc is about that arc and only that arc. But like no, this actually is information that spans across the whole series and even movie. But I really liked Sakuta's character, as far as, because like they say that he's one of the things they mention is like being able to read the atmosphere, and how he is able to read the atmosphere but decides to go against it, because a lot of people, they just kind of, especially like in high school, you just follow the crowd. You kind of have this herd mentality, and you're probably not even aware of it. But I really liked like the display of his character. Yeah, he's a bit edgy, but I think he does so in a very like humorous way. Like when his friend's girlfriend tells him to stay away from his friend, and he's like, "Are you on your period?" or something, and she gets pissed off. I'm like, "Yeah, what a Chad," But and then seeing him help Mai, and then you see Mai's like, you kind of see Mai's fears that she doesn't want to be forgotten, and then you kind of like you can't help but kind of relate that if you saw someone as like beautiful as Mai, you would want to help them, or at least I would,
So you're only helping beautiful women, Michael?
Well, I mean, I would help anyone, but but the thing is, because you also see that he starts to become fond of her too, and you see that in his desperation when I don't want to segue into it before you lead us there, but
no, go ahead. She kind of tells him the story, what she did, or the trauma she went through to cause her to be unseen. Right.
So she her mom kind of like forces her to wear a swimsuit in a commercial or an ad or something like that, and she didn't want to, but her mom was also her manager, so she didn't have a choice. So after doing that, she she left showbiz, and just wanted to disappear because everyone was, she didn't want to be seen like that, and so that's what caused her syndrome. Um, and it's and because Sakuta is someone who can read the atmosphere but goes against it, this is why he's able to see her. This is why he's able to speak it into existence. And man, like the first 3 episodes is good enough to be a movie of its own, because like just the whole arc where he's the part where he realizes that when you fall asleep you forget, and he just like he forces himself to stay awake, and then my kind of like she this is the second time she gets into the bunny girl outfit for him, I think, right?
Yeah, to help him study.
Yeah, to help him study.
She
And then
drugs him.
she puts some sleeping medicine in his drink, and he falls asleep. And then, oh god, it's so like sad because she knows what's gonna happen, but she's like, thank you, for everything, and I kind of teared up a little right there. I'm like, oh shit, no. And then that's where you see there it jumps to the beginning of the anime where he's like, why is this a bunny girl? And it's like her name has disappeared, and then he starts to remember when he's taking his test, and it's so like I'm what's the word, it's so romantic, and it's it got me like butterflies in my stomach watching. I'm like, this is so fucking sweet. Like as a guy, you want to do this for a girl that you really love. And then but yeah, that first arc was so good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what they've done with their relationship too. Like, it wasn't like a cat and mouse kind of thing. They kind of just built it up gradually.
Mm-hmm.
And as both these characters go through this experience, that's where you kind of see like she plays Mai kind of plays hard to get, but she's not like, she's not mean about it to Sakuta.
Yeah.
And so Sakuta's always like making moves on her, and she kind of just like brushes it off.
it's like that scene after he announces to the whole school, in which when he does that, I actually had to look up like the explanation of it, but it kind of makes sense too. But because in high school, he has such a bad rap, and that's not because everyone knows the story, but it's just kind of how high school is, rumors and going with the atmosphere. So you notice that when he's going around asking person to person whether or not they know who Mai is, and they always say no. But he uses the fact that he's making a fool of himself, and that as a tool to confirm like Mai's existence, because they're gonna be making fun of him. Like, he knows that they're gonna like start rumors about him, but he did all that just to confirm and to save Mai. That's like the way that was played out. It's brilliant. But yeah.
I also liked how they brought in the whole idea of Schrodinger's cat in. Now, I'm by no means I'm no physicist or not educated in all that shit, but the idea of Schrodinger's cat is, if you don't open the box, you don't know if the cat's alive or dead, right? So he pretty much does. I think he opens up the box, or he has no choice but to do it to make sure that she comes back.
Right.
And the only way to do that was, like you said, to make himself look like an idiot, because he already has he has a reputation in the school already because of what they think he did. And for those who don't know, I guess we should have just talked a little bit about this too. It was like he has like a scar on his chest due to
Right, yeah.
an apparent accident that he involved people in. But later on the show, we learned that's not the case. But
Mhm.
it's just the ideas of rumors and spreading false truths and narratives, and so it's kind of like already played out like that. So he doesn't even care if that
Like
what people think
he
of him.
doesn't he doesn't confirm it. Like
Yeah,
he never goes to anyone and says that you're wrong. He's just like, if that's what you think, then that's what you think, I guess. You know. Um yeah, but the whole Schrodinger's cat and superpositions, how the when for those who don't know, Schrodinger's cat is kind of a thought uh example of, like, if you have a cat and you put it in a box with a vat of poison that has a 50% chance of killing that cat, and you close the box, and then for that time the cat is in a superposition. It is both alive and dead, because the probability, it's either 50% chance it's alive, 50% chance it's dead. So in that time, it's a superposition, and where it's both alive and dead, and it's not confirmed if it's alive or dead until you open the box and to see if it's alive or dead. So Sakuta doing using himself as making a kind of a laughing stock of himself in order to save Mai is him confirming that. So beautifully done.
Yeah, I think this first arc, and the thing is,
This is the first arc.
This is only just the first arc, and I really, again, like I said, I enjoyed how they played this story out, and going on to this second arc where he meets Koga. Right, this is where I felt like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit, because they started off so strong with the story and the connection between Mai and Sakuta, and yeah, as someone who just recently binged it, I was like, yo, like, what the hell? Why aren't they more focused on them now? And it switches off to another female character in the show, and Koga is an underclassman who meets Sakuta, like, during one of the most random parts of the show, where he tries to help this little girl who's lost, and then she comes in and like she jump kicks him out in the public.
Yeah.
And so, like, the way how they become connected is, like, she's like, all right, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to kick you like that, but you have your shot at me too. So he kicks her in the ass, literally.
I like it. I like how hard he kicks her too. It's not like kind of reminds him of like Kazuma. Like,
yeah. So he kicks the shit out of her, like, literally. And what's funny is, like, they both get caught up because they get caught by police. And then I believe because of her, he was late to his date with Mai or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there was tension already between that, because now that he's not really dating Mai, but they're starting to see each other and get acquainted. And so I find it really funny how okay she was with him,
mm-hmm.
or with Sakuta doing all this like other nonsense, going on different dates and stuff like that.
That's kind of one thing where I'm like Mai's too perfect for reality. Like,
yeah,
like she's just like too too perfect in that regard. I mean, she does show signs of like jealousy and all that, but she always overcomes that jealousy with like the fact that I think with him, because it was Sakuta, like, she knows how much he did for her. So he knows that like, whatever he does, it's not because he doesn't love her. It's, she even tackles it. She even addresses it herself, where it's just like what is it? She mentions that it's like she can get over it or whatever. There's an example that's coming to my mind, but I can't think of it right now.
like
she doesn't.
She doesn't like you said, she doesn't get jealous about it, and then she kind of just like, because she knows how much he likes her already.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, like, even like during the part where she catches Koga like falling on top of Sakuta in the classroom, like, she looks at them and she just walks off. She's like, "I'm going home. I'm not talking to you right now." She just leaves. And so I thought there'd be more tension in regards to that. But she kind of, again, she just like the following day or so, she's like, I want to talk to you. I'm not mad at you, but let's talk the shit out.
Yeah.
So it throws him off guard a lot too. And with him and Koga though, like this part of the story, I did like the meaning behind it, like how they, like, because with her syndrome, she's able to, I guess you could say, pause time, or she's rolling the dice when it comes to these scenarios of her choice, because Koga's, I believe Koga's like not an exchange student, but she's like a new student in the school, and she's having a difficult time making friends. She's changed her whole appearance and whatnot. She even changed the way how she talks in the show, or like how she uses her slang and vocabulary. She changed that, and it's funny because she goes through all these changes and she tries to better herself, and by keeping up with the latest trends and trying to be, trying not to miss a day of school. I thought this part was funny. Like, I can't miss a day of school, because if I miss out one day of school, I'm gonna be out of the loop. Like she has like the whole group chats, and what she's in, she's like talking about everything, and Sakuta's just like, why are you trying so hard to keep up with it? There's really no point. And it comes down to just her being accepted. And there's a part in this, and I think her syndrome is, again, like we said, her syndrome, she can not control time, but she has the ability to reset the day, and this is caused by a chain of effects due to the fact that one of her friends, who likes another random male kid in the school, he asks Koga out, and she doesn't know what to do with that, because she goes out with this guy, then her friends will be upset, she loses her friends and whatnot. And so this is where I got a little bit confused, but now that I've been thinking it through, it kind of makes sense too. But like Sakuta gets dragged into this because of their connection of them, from what Futaba, another friend in the show, Futaba tells him, like, maybe it's because you did something with her that causes that change in reality, and they kind of connected to with them kicking each other, so
Spoiler, it's because they kick each other in the butt.
I don't like that that's the idea of why they're connected. I thought that was kind of stupid, but it's whatever, man. It's just kind of, I just thought that was kind of a, they could have wrote it. There was a better chance to kind of explain more why they're connected. But to continue, like, Sakuta gets caught up in this time loop, and Futaba tells him, like, she has like the syndrome, like Lapis. I think that's right. I could be butchering it, but Lapis is demon. Yeah. And so like until she gets the right scenario, she will always reset time and reset the date over and over and over. And so he gets caught up with her doing this, and through this time loop where he finally catches on, like, oh, it's her, and as he helps her, she develops feelings for Sakuta, and he does his best to help her. And this is where you told me earlier before, this is where that kind of fucked you up, because like right when you think he fixes it, it fucking resets again, and I just thought that was funny, because now he has to deal with another thing. Like, I thought I fixed this, like they keep replaying the same day over, like Groundhog's Day, they keep replaying the same day. And like, there's moments where like the time frame does move on, and then it comes all the way back, to the beginning. So, what was your thoughts on this part of the series, like of the second arc here?
No, I'll try not. Jeez, I say this. I'm gonna say this about all the arcs, but
Just say it.
They're all my favorite. Because we've spent so much time, like, we're already like an hour in, and we're just not talking about the second arc. But no, like otherwise I'm gonna keep going on and on, and I won't shut up about it. So I'll try to like summarize it instead of going to tangents. But firstly, when you told me that it's the same Seiyu as Ruka, I was like, God damn it. I was like, she strikes again. because I'm just like, just let my man get a dub. Just let my man win. You know, like he finally worked things out with Mai. He's gonna go be happy with Mai, and then she comes along to the picture, and there, you even see that scene, and you get so invested in it to where like, he gets Mai to confess that he asks her out, and she agrees, to be his girlfriend. And then like she comes along, and like, and now Sakuta has to live that day over and over and over again until he finds out that Koga is the reason for it. And then that just screws everything up. And then he wakes up the next day. He's like, it's fine, I can redo it. And then no, he can't, because for those who haven't seen it, and don't mind the spoilers, Sakuta realizes that Koga is Laplace's demon, because she's the only one who's acting different day to day. So he confronts her about it, but then in doing so, it leads to the typical anime trope of like, a guy falling on the girl, or the girl falling on the guy, and then just wrong time at the wrong place at the wrong time, and someone sees them. So Mai sees them, and then Sakuta's like, it's fine, like she's mad, but the day is gonna repeat anyways, and it doesn't. I'm like, why you gotta do this to me? Like, why you gotta play with me like this? So then it plays out, and then here's also where you realize how like amazing Mai is, because she's okay with Sakuta like going on a fake date with Koga. But the whole Laplace's demon thing, it was pretty it was pretty, it's I'm gonna say this. The show can definitely have a lot of like plot holes, but it gets the pass because it's a science fiction type of anime, and it's supernatural in that regard. So there's a lot that you probably could disprove, and there's probably a lot of theorists who would disprove it. But you know what? It's a good anime. Lay off, just all these things. But I mean, I think they do a great job in explaining that. Before I get into that, though, man, what even pissed me off more, because up to episode 3, the ending was always Mai walking on the beach, and then now it was Koga walking on the beach. I thought this was just gonna be like a one-time thing, and it's gonna go back to Mai. So I'm like, okay, it's finally over. But then you soon realize that like the anime isn't. I probably should say this for the next arc, but it's the next arc confirms that it's the anime is not about their relationship, even though it kind of is. It's more about like the puberty syndrome. So having realized that's when I became a lot more accepting of like the different ways that the show twists you around. But Koga is definitely one that like it caught me from left field, because at first you're just like, I hate this girl, like she's annoying. She's got a cute voice, but she's annoying. Like just go away, go so my man can be with Mai, But I found myself at the end of it like really like I really felt something like very thought-provoking and very like heartfelt, because of through it all, she just kind of she was afraid of being alone, losing her friends, because she spent all that effort to be relevant, to kind of be in the in, and you can even see it because she's constantly like on her phone, she's like, oh, if I don't do this, I'm not going to be, my friends, I won't be in the in crowd, Sakuta even calls her out on it. But all this plays into her trope of like, of her character of like afraid of not being popular, because if she's not popular, then she won't have friends, And so the reason why she starts repeating the last day again is because, she can't come to terms, and she wants to see if she can do something. Well, it's not that she wants to see if she can do something different, but she has this delusional thought that the more and more and the more they do that, then Sakuta would eventually love her, and choose to be with her. That's her delusional thought, and she is disproven in that. So it's less of it's less that she loves Sakuta, and it's more that she just doesn't want to be alone. And this is why they're able to be friends, because Sakuta confirms, he tells her you tried your best. I'm like, oh god, that hits so deep. And then she starts crying, confessing her love for him. And then I think her arc is more about just facing your fears, even if it is something that you're terribly afraid of, being alone. It's a way of saying that things will work out in the end, because she does eventually find her friends. But just that scene of her crying, I'm
that's a great point you brought up too, because just her facing the reality of things.
Mhm.
In her syndrome, she's trying to, she tells Sakuta, or Sakuta told her, no matter how many times you try this, it's not going to be your outcome.
Yeah,
and she tells him, well, what if I did it this many times, eventually eventually you will like me, right? He goes, no matter how many times you do it, it's not going to change anything. So that part of the climax of that arc was what I enjoyed the most, was how she just finally learned to just accept things for what they were. But I did think it was funny to kind of backtrack a little bit, was when they go on the date, he has to repeat the date, so many times with her.
Oh, on the beach, yeah.
Yeah, and when you think that it's settled, he has to restart the day again. I thought that was so funny, because it makes the viewer think okay, Sakuta solved this case, and it just wasn't it. And then and you kind of learn that the future that she made, it wasn't even the actual future. It still stayed in her syndrome until she fully accepted the situation, and then it went all the way back to June 28th. I think that was the date. They went all the way back to before they graduate, and I thought that was that kind of a mindfuck a little bit. It's holy shit, dude, he went through all that just to rewind all the way back.
Yeah, and I honestly, that was a huge relief. And to note that it's also funny when she's trying her best to not be conspicuous, on the last day, she's trying to not stand out. And then he finally sees her, and then he's like, she's Laplace's demon again. She's the reason why we're stuck in this loop.
Yeah.
And then not gonna major foreshadowing here, by the way.
But
yeah, and then they go back to that
time
the other
bending
day.
and all that,
yeah, and then he's all like, well, she's this powerful. And then that's when you see him, Sakuta, finally, because you feel like you just get cucked. You're like okay, he's never going to be able to go back and to live that scenario, because they do a great job in showing how sweet and how perfect and romantic it is when they're sitting at their desk having lunch, and talking about the kiss scene, and to see Sakuta get jealous and everything like that, and to him asking her out, it just kind of goes back to, well, all is right, all is good. And then you see her decline the guy asking her out, because as you said, she was afraid that it doesn't matter, because her fear was that in that very scenario, no matter the outcome, either if she turns him down, then her friends are going to know that he asked her out, and then they're going to hate her, which they end up doing anyways. So it's a really powerful move forward to show that she finally is facing her fears and accepting whatever is to come.
Yeah, it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's funny because like there were certain scenarios like this. You know, I think a lot of us have this too, especially when we're younger. Something happens to us, and either like we get in trouble. For me, it was like so there's this girl that I kind of liked in like the 5th grade, um, and we were supposed to go on a skating trip to the skating ring, and then I wasn't even doing something like uh wrong. Like my friends were, and I got caught up in the middle of it. And then like uh the pretty much the I was good at skating, so my plan was to like impress her and then like talk to her. 5th grade Michael, by the way. So not too entirely different from today. um so I get in trouble and they tell me I can't go. I'm like, my world at that time just crumbled. I'm like, no. And then I remember like going to sleep, just like, please, just please rewind time just one day, just one day. I was so desperate, but like, and that's why I was able to identify with it so well. It's because like you can see her sense of like desperation, just like, you know, wanting to redo it just to see a different outcome, you know. But yeah, it's that's kind of where like the rubber meets the road, and why I was able to connect with it so well, because like, well, eventually you're gonna have to come to terms and accept it, you know. So yeah,
That was, I appreciate the personal input there. But yeah, you know, Koga's I at the end, you know, with Koga's story is I like that how she was able to move forward, and you know, even throughout the series, like how she's able to work with Sakuta and be cordial with him. You know, like when they work at the same workplace, and he still jokes with her, and she still like plays with it. You know, like it's I like that how her growth goes from like wanting to be accepted by everyone and just realizing that, you know, all you really need is just one person to accept you. That kind of mindset shift right there, which I thought that was really, it was a great way to put that into perspective. But onto the 3rd arc, right, with Futaba.
your
I was
favorite.
not, I wasn't okay. I actually enjoyed this arc, but I was not expecting it to be what it was, because Futaba throughout the show is, you know, she's the friend that kind of like helps explain the science and like the theories behind everything. And whenever Sagata's stuck at something, you know, she does her best to explain everything. And I did not see this coming at all. You know, like she had her own issues that she had. And I kind of wish that they brought her story up sooner. I would rather have it like be Mai, Futaba, and then Koga. But you know, to proceed on, it's just like with the Futaba story, like she had a hard time dealing with accepting herself, like just physically and emotionally. You know, you don't really see that side of her character because she's always helping Sakuta, and like she's more reserved when it comes to her emotions. And I don't recall exactly how it started with Futaba. I just know that, you know, I think what Mai and Sakuta saw her like going to like the online store, or the computer store or something like that. Or not even a
No,
computer store.
it started when
it's like a bar, right?
it was an internet cafe that she went to,
That's
but
what it was.
it actually started. So Sakuta ran into Futaba, and this time she didn't have glasses and she had her hair up, and then, you know, Sakuta was telling her that, like, you know, this is kind of when she tells Sakuta that she has feelings for what's their friend's name? I
Oh,
forget.
I know, but the basketball player.
Yeah, the basketball player.
Yeah.
That's when
I
this
don't
is when
remember his
she's
name either.
yeah,
But he's the guy with the girlfriend that Sakuta like roasts the shit out of.
has the bitchy girlfriend.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he runs into her, and then she's just kind of nonchalantly saying, like, you know, I just decided not to wear my glasses and I decided to put my hair up today. And then he tells her that, like, you know, you should wear you know, your yukata to the fireworks festival. And then that's when this is when he starts not really when he starts to realize it, but then it's just like they see Futaba walking into the internet cafe, and then they call her, and then they start talking to her, but then they also see her.
Yeah, and so that's when you realize there's doubles.
Yeah.
There's two Futabas, really.
Mhm.
Yeah, because like wasn't one saying like she was at the school, right? She was like at school or something like that. And then they see Maya catches the other one like at the internet cafe. I'm doing a terrible job explaining this part, so forgive me for anyone who's listening. But
You want me to take the lead on this one?
yeah, because I don't recall too much. I just remember like the main focus of this arc. I don't remember like the small details.
See, one of the reasons why it's at this point that I start to realize that like oh, it's because I thought it was just gonna like be really good episode 1, 2, 3, and then just kind of go down. No, it just keeps going upward. But yeah, so Futaba, when they run into her at the internet cafe, she kind of explains to them about like, you know, what some of her insecurities are. Well, firstly, they know that it's an adolescent syndrome, so they're trying to see what her syndrome is, like what her fear is. And then one of the, you know, it doesn't really show because so Futaba eventually the not double. So you can split Futaba. We'll split Futaba up into two ones. So one, glasses Futaba versus no glasses Futaba.
Yeah.
No glasses is the copy that was made, and then glasses is the Futaba that they've always known. But before I get into it, I know you said you don't like how you wish they did Futaba then Koga, but I like how they played it out, because at this point you think Futaba is just this very like what's the word? Just this very composed, like, you know, like really smart, intellectual, and, you know, secure with herself, because she's like always helping Sakuta out. And then here's where you realize that, like, you know, even those who on the outward seem like they're okay are still dealing with something, you know. So fast forward, so you ran into this short funny moment where Sakuta wants the glasses Futaba to stay with him, and Mai's like, absolutely not. And then so Mai ends up staying with them too. But when they're doing this, Mai stays with Glasses Futaba while Sakuta is going to visit No Glasses Futaba to see what is, you know, what the deal is. And then they find out that they actually find out through their friends. I'm gonna look up his name real quick.
Yeah, like
as so I can explain it.
Yeah, as you're searching it up, like Futaba's story is just it's really more complex than it is, because I like that how they split her up into two of what she, of kind of like what she wants to be versus who she really is.
Right.
So I like that.
It's like who she wants to be, but it's also who she doesn't want to be, because like they you know, his name is Kumini, Yuma Kumini. That's her friend's name, and his girlfriend Saki.
I didn't even know that was her name.
Yeah, I mean she only comes into the show like 2 or 3 times. But she confronts Sakuta, saying that, like, you know, is this your friend? And then she shows like pretty much racy images of like
that's
Futaba,
right.
like,
yeah, that's right.
You know, shots of her, like her bust and like her legs and everything. And then Futaba, or Sakuta, confronts Futaba about this, the glasses Futaba, and she says that, like, she confesses that, like, her body started maturing at an earlier age and she started getting unwanted attention. But at the same time, she kind of struggles. You find later on, long story short, you find that later on that she's also worried about, you know, being a boring person and not, you know, she doesn't want to be alone, pretty much. So Sakuta goes to non-glasses Futaba to kind of like confront her about her feelings for Kumini. And she feels that she's not like enough, like not adequate enough to, to be she's in a very cyclical complex where she knows she could get attention if she wants to, but she doesn't want that attention. She just wants to feel, and I think it probably relates to a lot of like people, maybe particularly girls, that just feeling like you're not enough, constantly being around other popular people. You're just like, they must be that much better person because they're popular.
Right. Constantly comparing herself to other people there.
And that's exactly what it is. Because so Sakuta, to prove how much she is, how important she is, he calls Kumini, who comes right away. And that this kind of shows non-glass Futaba that she is, she's valued. And then they go do the fireworks and everything, and then you think it gets better. I
actually enjoyed that scene. Like when
I did too.
When he came rushing over the, and because Sakuta's like, he kind of tells him to, like, if I called you at this time, would you show up? He's like, yeah. And then he had to ride his bike all the way over just to see what the issue was, and then when they go to the beach to do their own fireworks festival, I like that. Even though Futaba knows that she won't get with what's his name, Kumini, right?
Kumini,
how she won't get with him, like she kind of just accepts the fact that they are all friends,
right?
And that she doesn't have to be any different than what she was, than her online persona, or like what the no glasses Futaba was portraying. Because that's who they hang out with at the beach, is the no glasses Futaba. But like to prove that
there's no glasses to prove to that side of Futaba that because there's two fears that she's facing, and even though as beautiful as that scene was, like them with the fireworks, like you can tell when the anime studios want to emphasize on a certain scene, like say for instance, not to go too off topic, but like I talk about the Chika Fujiwara dance from Kaguya-sama.
Yeah,
it's like if you look at how well it's animated, it's like you know when they put in the extra effort to animate it. They did the same thing with this scene, because like the fireworks and just their expressions, the animation, everything was just like spot on, like super beautifully artistic. But yeah, then to move forward, like you think that right here it's all sunshine and rainbows, that like it's a beautiful scene, you're like, okay, this is it, but like no, it's not, because now Sakuta goes and shows glasses Futaba, and now she feels that like she needs to disappear because this version of her, this fun outgoing version of her, is better, so she starts to she sees how much fun they're having, and she now feels she can just disappear. So she runs off, and Sakuta finds her. And then do they? I forget how. Okay, this is where do you forget? How did they end up in the hospital?
I don't recall.
Okay, they somehow.
So anyone who's listening, if you guys can like fill in this blank, comment.
Oh no, it's because Sakuta had to run to find her, and it was in the rain. So Sakuta.
And he fainted. Yeah.
Yeah. So they take him to the hospital, and then, from there he was kind of telling her that you're valued, and then I think, crap. Okay, this is where it starts to. This is what I get for binging the rest of it. Okay.
Well, he kind of like lets her know, like, even though the no glasses Futaba is one that we had fun with, like, this is who you could be too. Like, you don't have to run away from, your situation or whatnot. And I kind of forgot like what initiated the phone call, but once she called her other self.
It's her accepting.
Yeah, it's just overall, it's just her accepting herself, and that's when they fuse. And so, I thought that Futaba's arc overall was like I really liked how they did this, where it was kind of like the mystery behind it. You know, how is there two of them, and it's just like they showed that even a character like Futaba had, like you mentioned, like how she has her own issues that no one saw.
Right.
And through this arc, like Sakuta was able to help his friend and verify with her, like, and pretty much help her have closure. Like, you know, I can still be me without having to change myself. And so like she had to learn how to pretty much love herself. And I think that's where it came down to.
And so, you know, what I really love what they did about the continuity of that is that throughout the show, occasionally you see Futaba with her hair up, and then sometimes with her hair down. I'm like, this is her showing that she's like owned that part. She's accepted that, you know, she's accepted herself for, you know, who she is, and I guess kind of accepted her, you know,
Her flaws and
her flaws, her ideals of herself, and then also kind of like confronts her
her feelings
fear,
for like
fear of being alone too.
Yeah.
That too. You see that she whispers something into his ear. She probably confesses to him that like she likes him, but like doesn't want to get in the way. You don't hear what she says, but you do hear her say that like, you know, you should work things out, because Kumini is actually in a fight with his girlfriend because of Futaba. So she kind of says like, it's probably because of me, but you should work things out. And I think that was like the most mature thing ever. And I'm like, damn, this show just like they don't feed into like what you want, because what you do want is you do want Kumini to not be with his bitchy girlfriend and to be with Futaba, but then they kind of add a level of realness to it.
Kind of like the Wong Fu productions. You know, they
exactly.
take the mature route and go, no, this is how you should actually deal with your problems instead of feeding to the fan service and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think this arc was one of my favorites for sure. This next arc wasn't so much. I see it. This is like I said. This is where I feel like they always drop the ball. Man, like they start off strong with something, then have something in the middle, and then go strong again. And I felt like this is the weakest part of the show.
I agree. I'm gonna let you lead this one.
I forgot her. What was my sister's name? I forgot her name.
Nodoka.
Nodoka. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they kind of like they kind of introduce her a little bit in the beginning, where Mai talks about like how her dad has another daughter or whatnot, but they don't really explain who she is. And then she's even on the TV screen, like, you know, I want to be like Mai, you know, like she idolizes Mai. And so, if anything, the only part I liked in this arc was when Sakuta chases down Mai, and like I forgot if he was confessing something to her or he was saying something to her.
Oh, and then she's like,
who the fuck are you? Yeah. As it turns out, they have like a Freaky Friday situation where both Mai and Nodoka swap bodies. We're probably just brush through this arc real quick because honestly, this was my least favorite arc. Pretty much, Nodoka's a rising star. Like, she's an up and coming star. She's like in a little girl band and whatnot, idol band, and she's constantly being compared to her sister through her mom. You know, and it's just. I just felt like this arc was weak. Like, it was because it's just like it was just so typical because like the way how they explained it, you knew what was going to happen at the end.
Well, yeah. I think it was the weakest, but I still think it was pretty good. Like, so it. Long story short, just to give the preface of it, so Mai's dad has two wives. Or has one wife, an ex-wife who is Mai's mom, and then has a new wife who is Nolika's mom. And Nolika's mom's always telling Nolika that she needs to be like Mai, and no matter how much she tries to, because the truth is, like, Mai always wanted, she liked that Nolika looked up to her, and then Nolika was really inspired by Mai. But it's more so of like the parents. I think this one was more to express to parents, like, let your kids do what they want to do, because they kind of fall into like the whole her mom kind of when Mai in Nodoka's body kind of did so well, and then she saw how happy Nodoka's mom was with her, she becomes really depressed. She's like, I'll never be able to do that, like even if I am back in my own body. And then I like the whole aspect of where Sakuta goes to his dad and starts asking his dad, like, how ready were you for having kids?
Oh.
And then his dad thinks like, well, did you knock her up? But like, it's just the small humor in that. But and then he kind of goes to show, and this is something that I've come to realize too. Something that I always have to remind myself, because our parents weren't there's no book on how to be a parent, and no one really is telling no one can come tell a parent, oh, you're doing a good job, or you're doing a bad job. They just have to kind of like go with the flow of it. It's part of life, I guess. So that plays a part into, I guess, it's a level of humanness with Nodoka's mom, because her mom doesn't really even know what she wants from Nodoka. She just knows that Nodoka wants to be like Mai, and she wants her to be like Mai. And then, Mai kind of finally comes around to say that, like, the reason I'm good at being in showbiz is because it's something that I wanted for myself. Where Nodoka did it because she wanted to be like Mai, and because her mom wanted her to. And so at the end, she kind of tells Nodoka that, like, just, if you do what you really want to do, you'll make her happy. The part that pissed me off though is that they just wouldn't talk to each other. They're using they're using Sakuta
was the middleman of everything.
Yeah.
And
if you've ever had friends that weren't getting along and you've been in that situation, you know how much it sucks. You just want to be like, you sit here, talk.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't as powerful as the other ones, in my opinion, but I think it still addressed a lot of things that people or kids at that age would be going through. It's just, we as Asian kids, especially, we do our best to make our parents happy. We want to do what's good in their eyes, but we don't really care about what's good for us, what we want to do. So
I think one part that I enjoyed in this arc was towards the end, where it's funny how Mai tells him, like, don't look in the closet.
Yeah.
If you're here, don't look in the closet. Keep it to yourself. Sakuta, being nosy as hell, opens and finds out what's in that box. And it turns out, Mai's kept all the letters that Nodoka wrote her as a kid growing up. And Mai talks about, like, how she gets constant fan mail and all this stuff. But then when it came to Nodoka writing her stuff, or writing her to her, she kept it. She treasured it because it was from a sister that she'd always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It was from someone that that she held to, like, she had high regards for. And I think, especially as when it comes to siblings, I don't have any brothers, but I'm pretty sure you can imagine, like, just being compared to an older sibling, or like why aren't you doing what they're doing, or why can't you be more like that? Yeah, so it kind of like that part of the story where you see what Nodoka's going through. She's constantly being compared to someone that she doesn't want to be compared to, because, like, if you're siblings, you should just be happy for each other type shit.
And I think that's one of the things that resonated with me so much too, because that's something that I personally lived through. everyone in high school, all the teachers, they knew me as, like, Matt's brother. All even like in church, everyone, like, I hated it to the point where, like, everyone would be like, oh, where's Matt? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm doing fine, thanks. I'm doing pretty well, thanks for asking. It's like literally all the church friends, they would all be like, oh, hey, where's Matt? I'm like, it's the first thing you got to ask. Like, yeah, hey, what's up too? Like, but no, it's something. It's even to the point where I don't know how, but there's people who don't even know that I have a brother named Matthew, but still somehow call me Matt or Matthew. I'm like, how do you know this? How? And I wish I was making this. Truly wish I was making this up, but I am not. But even to this day, like that little thing right there, I get triggered. I'm like, how do you know I have a brother named Matt, and why are you mistaking me for him? It's like I really can't escape his shadow no matter how much I try. But no, you get that frustration because you're just like, and it happened to the same thing when I was hanging out a lot with Bobby, and this is when I started to realize I needed to make an identity for myself. Because I was hanging, if I was just kind of like always following, if it wasn't my brother Matt, it was Bobby. I was hanging out with him a lot, and then got to the point where I was going to functions and people were asking me, "Oh, hey, where's Bobby?" I'm like, not here. I am though. Like, and it's nothing ill against them. It's just more so like I felt, and I think this is probably one of the messages too, where that eventually you have to choose to be your own person, Yeah,
I think that's what Notika's arc was, and that when it came to the ending of it, that's where I liked what they did with it. I just hated how it felt so filler, because during this part of the arc, like where Sakuta's still hanging out with Notika in Mai's body, like they don't realize that's causing like the media to like catch them in public, because in Mai's,
and then it leads to the next arc.
In Mai's contract, she's not supposed to have a open, or not open, but like a public relationship or any relationships really, and they have to address all of that and whatnot. And so which is not, I don't think that part was any important, but like it's just like those minor things in this arc kind of like led up to towards the end. But to me it just felt so filler, because it wasn't so it wasn't so mind blowing
magnitude. Definitely wasn't on the same magnitude, because everyone else was kind of dealing with like more like life and death, kind of like I want to disappear versus can't accept reality, and this is kind of like more so accepting yourself, which is kind of falls in line with Futaba. But I mean, it was good nonetheless.
It had more like a familial, like a family type of vibe to it. I don't want to word it like that, but it definitely hit home more when it comes to like just siblings and whatnot. But like I said, I'm not changing my thoughts, and I thought this part of the arc was probably the weakest.
It was definitely the weakest, but to you it's the weak. I agree that it's the weakest, but I still think it was a pretty strong one. But I will say, I wish they didn't. I don't want to say it was like nightmare inducing, but when they switched bodies back, the way they animated that, I was like, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah, it kind of had like a Naruto genjutsu.
Yeah, they're hugging, and then
it just reverses.
It's not just a quick swap. It's just like they kind of like
mold into each other's body. Yeah,
It's like I had to watch it over again. They really did that. Like, what the hell?
I thought that was pretty funny too. That caught me off guard.
But imagine being Sakuta, like, that's it, I'm done for the day. Like, seeing them switch bodies back. But I think this is actually a good development plot for Mai too, because as much as you think Mai is kind of like same as Futaba, you think she's so composed, you kind of see that she is human herself too. She has flaws. She also chooses not to talk with Nodoka.
Yeah.
And wants to like, what kind of makes me okay? What do you think? Do you think Mai told Sakuta not to open the drawer because she knew that he was going to? This is kind of one of the things I wonder. Or do you think she really genuinely didn't want him to open it?
I think she genuinely didn't want him to open it, but at the same time, like, she knows how he's thinking too. But I felt like she probably didn't want him to know that kind of personal side of her yet. Yeah, I think during this part of the story, where I think Maya was trying to still solve this syndrome by herself with her sister, like trying to fix the issue. But honestly, if it wasn't for Sakuta intervening the way how he did, they would have never solved it. They would have they would try to fix it on their own.
It actually would have gone worse, because you can see Nodoka kind of like, she's even though she is Mai, she kind of got her wish and wanted to be Mai, but she she wasn't able to be Mai. You know, she was
Yeah.
struggling.
She
Whereas
had the anxiety attack
Mai,
on the set.
yeah, and then Mai being Nodaka, she kind of excels and does better. And then
Yeah.
you kind of, even though you think it's a good thing, but you, in the eyes of Nodaka, you kind of like feel, and I've kind of felt that way too, where it's just like, no matter what you do, it's just not going to be good enough, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think it does a good job in expressing that too, because, you know, even though things are looking up for Mai and everything like that, Nodaka is like more sad than ever, especially seeing her mom like happier with Mai than she ever was with herself. That part definitely kind of cut deep with that. But,
yeah, that part was like how she saw her mom reacting with Mai, like holding her hands. Like, and for those who are listening, this is just like when they're, before they swap back, when they're still in each other's bodies. Nodaka's mom, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you had this kind of talent in you. I didn't realize that, you know, you work so hard. You did this. She's getting like, Mai's getting the recognition that Nodaka wishes that she got from her mom, and I think that's what really hit Nodaka like deep, because like she realized, like, no matter, even if I'm in Mai's body, I still cannot live up to those expectations.
exactly, yeah.
But, you know, to continue on though, to this fifth arc, and this arc, this is already like towards the end of season 1. But
fourth? Wait,
no,
wait.
it's Mai,
yeah, you're right.
Koga, Futaba,
Mai,
Nodaka,
Koga,
and then the fifth arc is Kaedae.
Kaedae, yeah.
Yeah, and this, oh my god, dude, this was a
bro
home run type of shit for me. Like because throughout the series, we haven't even talked about her yet, but Kaedae throughout the series is in, you know, the episodes. She sees, for those who don't know, Kaedae is the younger sister of Sakuta, who has a lot of personal issues with bullying, and in a way, almost, I don't want to say it's self-harm, but it's like that in a way, in a sense, where, because her syndrome, because she's actually the first one that had the syndrome in the show, where online bullying and pretty much just like being made fun of in school through social media and whatnot, like or cyberbullying too, like she pretty much is harmed by that. Like, even though physically she wasn't being bullied, but like through the context of like just cyberbullying and whatnot, people telling her to kill herself and die, like she gets harmed through that. And her syndrome causes her to have like some sort of dissociative identity disorder, in a way where she goes through what's the word? She doesn't faint or anything, right? She goes comatose in a way. And then she wakes up with a new identity, and this is the identity that you see throughout the show first. So as a viewer, you're attached to this Kaedae, where she's at home, she's afraid of everything, she's, you know, she's in the onesie, you know, like she's very childlike.
The panda onesie.
Yeah, and so Sakuta's like constantly taking care of her, making sure that she eats, you know, making sure that nothing bad happens to her. Like he even threw his phone away to keep like the sounds of like an alarm and all that, to keep her away from that, you know.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know. But yeah. So yes, the whole show, Sakuta doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah, which is kind of funny how he survives that the entire thing. Like, it's just, I just find that kind of funny.
They kept with the continuity though, because anytime he needed to call someone, he would always ask Futaba or Mai for their cell phones. So good job on that.
And you know, and kind of like, you know, with Kaede's issue, I believe this was the catalyst for what happened to Sakuta, because throughout the whole show they don't really explain, or they do in a way, but like his inflicted scars, and when we touch up on the movie, we'll find out more of his syndrome. But, you know, he pretty much goes through all that pain because seeing what his sister went through, and then what his mom went through. Like even his mom has like a manic episode where Kaedae doesn't wake up, and like his dad has to leave them at that apartment where they're living at, and he has to take care of their mom. You know, so Kaedae being this whole new person, new identity and everything, like she's so afraid of being social, stepping outside, kind of have you watched that movie Benchwarmers with Rob Schneider?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like the
David
one
Spade's
dude.
brother. Yeah, David
Yeah.
Spade's brother who's afraid to step outside. Like that's what kind of reminded me of. It's kind of
Dude,
like that.
he sprays like sunscreen in his mouth.
Yeah, like he looks at the sun and he starts screaming.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it kind of made me think of that, but in a more anime, sweeter sense, where Kaede's so innocent,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
But this arc hit me hard because
This broke me. This broke me.
it
So
did.
hard,
Honestly,
man.
I'm not gonna lie. I did shed a tear or two when it came to this arc because you know, you just kind of see this growth of Kaede. Like she's seeing what Sakuta is doing, helping all these girls, and then she thinks that he's like a delinquent because
Yeah,
he's bringing
I
home so
love
many
that.
different girls and stuff, you know. And she's but what's funny too is like through this whole season, like she's learning to make friends. You know, she's learning how to talk to people again, like through Mai, Futaba, Nodoka, like, and then you know the cooking and everything, and Shoko,
Shoko, yeah.
which we'll touch up on Shoko later because I feel like talking about Shoko now doesn't really help with what's happening in the movie. So,
the movie, yeah.
but the focus there is Kaede, and I loved how, you know, this innocent-minded, like pure childlike character where she's, you know, you feel like she can't fend for herself, kind of thing. Like you feel like you have to, even as a viewer, you have to protect this person from all of the outside influences, and you're kind of afraid of what happens if she, you know, what happens to her if she does regain her memories, or if she does become normal again. And I like this part of the story because like the whole time you're thinking that she's going through a lot of these like psychological issues, but you don't realize like she lost her memories towards the end. Like I think like episode 10 or 10 or 11.
They don't really even explain that until like her friend comes looking for her on the beach.
Yeah.
And then whom Sakuta already ran into, so you know of her existence. But when she shows up, when Kaede is already out on the beach, and then that's when they explain everything, because you realize she doesn't remember who she is, and you're just kind of like, what the hell? But yeah, go on.
I just felt like to leave off this season though, like with Kaede's story, man, it was so gut wrenching because it's just like, you know, seeing Sakuta go through all this to just take care of his sister, and then the part where like you know, she has to write down her goals, what she wants to do, and she's at first, like, you know, just like not even hindsight, just like at first glance or like the first viewing of it before they unfold what happens, like what her intentions were, you know, she's always depending on Sakuta for everything. And you know, as an older brother myself, like it would get irritating, like why the hell do you want me to be in everything, you know, like it's kind of redundant, you know, you could do most of this stuff by yourself. Yeah, and she's like, oh no, I just want to include you in this, but without, you don't know, like viewers don't know her intentions until towards the end, where she's learning to walk outside with Sakuta, and she's like going through all this trouble of going to school, because that was one of her biggest fears of like being social and everything, and like her concerns of like people thought of her and whatnot. And then like you know, Sakuta does all these, he checks off the list, you know, takes her to the zoo, lets her go see pandas. She goes to Mai's apartment. They you know, they cook and they eat, and he finally takes her to the school, which is at night. And you know, he's like, are you excited to go to school? Because he shows her the classroom or what she's gonna be in, and she's like, yeah, I'm excited to go to school, I can't wait. And the following morning she fucking regains her memories again. And I'm like, oh my god, like I was not expecting this part. This part caught me off.
Oh my
like,
god,
I was so caught off guard, because when he asks her, like, you know, she's like, my legs are swollen, you know, what did I do yesterday? He's like, you don't remember? Like, we walked everywhere yesterday, you took you to the zoo and everything. And she has this phrase where he confirms that it's still Kaedae, and or at least the personality that he was taking care of. Like, she goes, Kaedae is Kaedae.
Yeah, Kaedae is Kaedae, yeah.
And she talks about herself in a third person, because she doesn't know who she was prior before she lost her memories, and so like this is a whole new identity. And with Sakuta, like man, when he realizes that when she regained her memories, like he was just so shattered, and um, even before that though, like they went to the hospital right before. Did something happen to her before? I don't recall.
Well, he calls his dad and then tells him that she got her memory back, so they
No,
take
no,
her
no.
to the hospital.
Before
Oh,
that though, before that, like weren't they at the hospital prior? Before he took her out to like all the stuff to do all the stuff.
oh yeah. So because she started, I think she fainted after after her friend met her on the beach,
Oh, okay.
and then they took her to the hospital, and then this is where, um, this is where, oh geez, there's like it's one of those things that like, um, there's there's a underlying plot that you're not made aware of until the very end. Um, uh, pretty much when we won't get too much into it, but when Shoko is kind of like explaining anyway, so how it goes is Kaedae passes out. They go to the hospital, and Sakuta is talking to Mai on the phone, and this is where we learn that she might regain her memories, but if she does, then everything that happened after her first incident might go away. All her new memories might go away and revert back to, where she was before the accident, and then you see that Kaede notices this. She pops a corner and then like pops back around the corner, and you notice that she understands. So yeah, that happened. That's when they were at the hospital, and then
And then after
they
they go through the check the list and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
then the season pass.
it's just kind of like bring it full circle though. Like it's just like she knew what made it so like so gut wrenching was like she knew like Kaede. It's not that she was dumb or anything, but like you wouldn't expect that from Kaide's like childlike manners,
right?
To know that, oh man, I need to do this, and it wasn't for herself, but she did it for her brother throughout the whole show. Because I'm pretty sure, like her seeing him helping everyone throughout the season, I'm pretty sure she was like thinking that he needs closure and he needs help, and the after she regains her memories and she forgets everything, and what happens to Sakuta, like his scar comes back. He starts bleeding out of his wound again, and then Shoko takes care of him. And so when Shoko's reading the letter that Kaede left behind, oh my god, dude, like it was so fucking sad. Like when it switches off from Shoko's voice narrating to Kaede's voice narrating, and like how she's speaking in third person. And she's like, I thought about like taking my first steps, and I wanted you to do all this with me, so that way you felt like you didn't do anything. But you felt like you did something for me without any regret or anything so that you can feel purposed or something like that. Like so you have.
So Sakuta actually had a one of his biggest regrets, and at the first time when she first passed out, because they were bullying her and lost her memories. His regret that is like I wish there was something I could do.
Yeah.
So he was struggling with the whole like I wish I could have did something, and then so Kaede knows this, and she like it's throughout the whole show, like even with her waking up in his bed and everything like that, and waking him up, like you kind of like geez, she's like one of those like clingy younger sisters that's kind of annoying. The Oni-chan. No wait, that could be taken way out of context. But the whole like but then I guess through all that you start to realize that like that Sakuta is just like really a good brother. But then you don't, as you said, you don't realize that like she's doing all this for him, because he even asks her, like, and you said this too, but he even asks her, like, go outside with Big Brother, go to school with Big Brother, and all this and that, and he's all like, you don't need me to do all these things. And she's like, of course I do. And like, as you were saying, like, so Shoko comes out and says, while reading Kaede's letter, that I did all this so that in the end Sakuta won't feel like he didn't do anything, because if anything, he helped me do all these things. And so you kind of realize that, like, Kaede knows what's going to happen. So she's doing all this because she knows that Sakuta is going to beat himself up in the end over it. But to kind of like help him be at ease. I mean, it doesn't make it hurt, and it doesn't make it hurt any less. Like, bro, I started bawling. I'm not even afraid to admit that. So like when
he's in the bathtub crying. Or...
No, I broke down when, like, because I just feel it coming. Like it's I kind of just felt like I was feeling what Sakuta was feeling, because, like, he says that I'm gonna go use the restroom, and then he walks out, and I'm like, I already know he's about to break down. So then he just starts running off, screaming.
Oh, even he runs out the hospital.
That's when I started. That's when I broke down, because you see, like, how broken. God, it really is just like losing someone, like someone passing away. Because it's just like this person is just gone from existence. Like this sweet little girl who wakes him up every morning, and he's always home and always greets him when he comes home. She's gone, like there no more, and he's just dealing with that, like that pain of, like, knowing that, and it's unexpected too, because one of the line that really made the tears fall when he was saying, like, so when they go to the zoo, when Kaede is still Kaede, he gets her a season pass to the zoo, and then he says, now you can come whenever you want, and then she says, we'll make sure we get your money's worth out of it,
Yeah.
And then he's kind of reciting those things, like, you're supposed to go to the zoo and to get your money's worth out of the pass, and just starts, oh my god, so like tear jerking even right now just thinking about it. But yeah, so, and then Shoko finds him, explains everything to him while he's in the bathtub. Yeah, that last arc done me in pretty deep. I was up for a while. Let's just say that. Just like thinking.
No, like that scene hit me hard, man. When like I said, when the narration starts and Kaede's explaining, like, why she was doing all this for Sakuta, because she knows that he's a good person, and she was so thoughtful of what he was doing, and she considered his feelings as if, like, she considered his feelings because she knew that if she was gone, he would have no more purpose to take care of her anymore, because she would have her memories back. And the thing is, like, she knew what would happen. She knew what would happen to her if her original memories came back. She knew that she'd be gone from existence. She wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be the same anymore. And I think that's what struck a chord with me, was like the Kaede that we see in this show knows that her end is coming, and she just accepted it, and even through this childlike manner of always depending on someone, and out of fear, she kind of like stepped up to the plate and became the more mature person. Even more, I'd say even more mature than Sakuta at times, where she accepted that, this is what's going to happen, and I need to make this happen for Sakuta so that he can move on and not be full of regret, or he can move on with this quote unquote passing of this character. And holy shit, man, like this whole last arc was just so heartbreaking. And I don't ever shed tears watching animes, but man, this one hit me pretty hard. And me being an older brother too, I have a younger sister and everything. I was just like putting my thoughts in Sakuta's shoes. You know, like what if I did everything I could to take care of someone that I truly cared for, and you know what would go through my mind, and then I started getting like soft and everything. So like it's so like you just see the pain that Sakuta goes through because he truly like it was literally like he had two almost like two sisters in a way. And when the original Kaedae came back, he lost a huge part of himself because he was the one taking care of her. And I felt, you know what pissed me off too though was like as he was going through this pain, where the fuck were his friends and and even Mai at times? Like the only one that was there for him was practically Shoko.
That I yes, I feel that way too, but that gets that doesn't go unnoticed in the end. When we get into the movie, you kind of see kind of where Mai stands on all this, which kind of leads her to do some of the things she decides to do, you know?
Yeah.
Well, so
pretty much season one ends though, because the way how season one ended, it ended off in a cliffhanger in a way, because like we were saying before, Shoko is like the character in the show that who he's in love with at first, or who Sakuta's in love with at first, and then you see that like when he runs into the little Shoko, it throws everything off. It's like,
oh my god! Like when I saw that, I was like, don't you fucking do it! Don't play with me like this. I don't need a real love triangle. Like,
especially with a younger character like that. Like that threw me off quite a bit. And I was like, yo, what? So he's gonna fall in love with like some little kid or something like hell no, I'm not about to watch this if it's gonna be like this. That's fucked up. But I you know, it was just funny because like how throughout the show you see her as like this young kid, like Kaede's age, who's learning how to take care of the cat and everything. And then like towards the end where after Kaedae regains her memories, like Shoko's grown up. It's the one that Sakuta fell in love with in the first place. And so, you know, with the end of season one, it pretty much just wraps up like, you know, Kaedae gets her memories back. Sakuta kind of just confirms everything, but then you know, wasn't it like him and Mai got into like an argument, right? Because it was her birthday or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Towards the end.
And then Mai was well, actually no, it does kind of get addressed, but yeah, so
because she
reads
Shoko,
a letter,
right?
that she sees. So Shoko writes a letter, like after putting Sakuta to sleep in his depression, and then Sakuta suddenly feels like better, you know, after having some being able to find some kind of closure with the whole situation with Kaedae. And then Mai sees that and then she leaves. And I'm like, fuck. Just let my man win. Just let him. And then you know, it goes into that whole you know, he reaches out to Nolika and she explains that it's her birthday and that's why she came back early for that. And then he it's funny. It's so funny that you see the opening is Sakuta running because he runs so fucking much in the anime. Like he's either running after Futaba or he's even the scene where he's like, I didn't even realize it, but they do a lot of foreshadowing without the foreshadowing because like, you know, Sakuta running and then in the rain and breaking down and just kind of like holding on to the rails. That was him when Kaedae passed, or Kaede's memories came back.
Yeah.
And then him running like literally as far as he can and spending all his money to get on a bullet train to get to where Mai is. And and then
they make up from there, and that's pretty much the end of season one.
Well, Mai mentions that like she apologizes to Sakuta for not being there for him in his most time of need, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think she pinches him right
Yeah.
at
Yep.
the end. Which one of the things I love about Sakuta is like he's like gets excited when she steps on him. I'm not gonna say
He gets off on.
I relate, but also it's just because Mai is kind of tsundere, and I do have
Yeah.
I am
She plays like she likes to play off the idea that she doesn't like him, but she actually does.
yeah.
And like I like how they, even when they flirt, like how he's like always, what if you dress in that money suit, then I'll study, and she actually does it. Like it's kind of like an actual real life relationship, like how they feed off each other with the dialogue. But yeah, towards the end of season 1, that's pretty much what happens. Like they make up at the end, but they leave off with the huge cliffhanger with Shoko because, as a viewer, you're watching this like throughout the
So
season.
who is?
Yeah,
I even told you some of my my theories.
Yeah.
On Shoko. So the two things that were unexplained was Shoko. Actually, Shoko and the actual scars on Sakuta's chest,
Yeah. Yep.
and why they only appear in certain times. And when we get into the movie, those get explained. But these are actually my questions going into the movie. Like, hey, these are the things that are still unexplained. I hope they're gonna answer them.
So what is it? We might as well just talk about the movie right at this point, because
it's
pretty much the end of season 1.
Yeah. So originally, I remember telling you that my theory is that Shoko was tied to Kaedae.
Yeah.
Kaede's syndrome. I was like, maybe the real Kaedae becomes Shoko, and while Kaedae is inside of her sister. I thought maybe she just transferred bodies, but that turned out to be wrong. I remember you telling it because we were talking, and you're like, it's funny. You said that you just need to watch the movie, and I'm like, okay, him reacting means I'm very right or very wrong. So turns out I was wrong. But yeah, so I actually wrote this down, but like some entering the movie, those two things are still unanswered. Who is Minohara Shoko, and who and why are there scars on his chest? So what about you? What were your thoughts going into the movie?
Going into the movie, because I had the covers of the movie, so I knew it was gonna be about Shoko. So, but
I saw the covers too. So yeah.
Yeah, so I knew it was gonna be about Shoko, but my questions going into this movie was, who the hell is she? What's her syndrome? Because obviously she has one. Because throughout the series, she tells Sakuta, "I don't have an older sister. I'm an only child." And then like how she goes in and out, and then eventually the adult version shows up out of nowhere again. And I really was like, yo, so what is this connection between him and Shoko? Because obviously he's in love with her, or at least the version that he saw that helped him in the beginning to get through his pain about Kaedae and everything, about losing her memories the first time. Like she was the one comforting him, and then she gave him like the 3 steps of life or whatever. Like I'm thinking of like Dan and Xenon right now, like love each other and your friends and whatnot. But
yeah,
like to do your best. I forgot. Do you have it on you since you're on your desktop? Like the 3 goals that she had.
Let me see.
Because like these 3 goals are pretty much like a lot of, or pretty much what kind of influences Sakuta to be how he is throughout this entire series of just helping everyone and himself and like to keep seeking who he thinks Shoko is.
Yeah. Oh, I was actually wrong about her name. It's Makinohara, not Minohara. Makinohara Shoko. Just to correct myself before I get put on a pitchfork. It's like
I don't
I get confused because there's two things that are transferred back and forth. But pretty much one of the things is oh no, it's what are the things you like hearing? It's
yeah.
it's one of them is I know because it's iterated and that it's a recurring theme, but you tried your best. It's I love you. You tried your best, and something else. Forgot. Let me see. Okay, let me go with
It's
that.
like that in the Xenon where you never get that third answer. Fucking Galma's always saying like, "There's only 3 things to life: love, friendship," and he never finishes it.
Okay, thank you. You did your best, and I love you.
Okay.
That's right.
So those are and those 3 phrases is what like carries on the thinking of Sakuta when it comes to like him and especially Shoko. And as they go into the movie, it pretty much picks up like I think a semester or so or after the events of season 1.
Let me see.
I don't really
Yeah.
I don't really recall the beginning. I just know that because again I binged everything within 2 days, so it's kind of hard to remember exactly what happened. But I know that like Shoko is in his life more in the movie.
Mhm.
She's like pretty much living with him because she pretty much explains with her her quirk. I'm thinking of My Hero, her syndrome.
Yeah.
She explains what her syndrome is like she's a time leaper sort of. Like she can't be in the same existence as or even in the same room as the little Shoko. And so she has to hide in the apartment for with Sakuta and Kaedae so that they can coexist. And because of this, that's why Mai gets upset because she's like, okay, well, if you're gonna stay, I'm gonna stay here too, you know. And so it makes Sakuta sleep and it makes him sleep in the living room. And I thought that was funny too because like because Shoko's cooking, she's cleaning, and then it makes Mai end up doing that stuff too. But
here's where you get the real like the harem tropes.
yeah. But I you know, again with my questions while going into this movie, like it was just more of who is Shoko though, because like she's such a mysterious character in this thing. Because even though she's kind of like the focal point of a lot of the things that Sakuta does, you don't really get an explanation of who she is and whatnot. Even like in the season 1 where like they introduce her as a kid and everything, it's not until the movie where you realize or you learn what's happening to her. And so I thought that this is where like the movie for me, like I had to watch it and then I had to watch like an ending explain video on YouTube to fully grasp what was happening in this movie, because Shoko's character, there's just so much happening with her, going back and forth and trying to, you know, she has a goal of hers that she's trying to do, and it caused for me it caused a lot of like confusion, like what the fuck's going on, you know, like at this point she's not like a villain or anything, but like it's just I kind of wish they got to the point up until like, you know, the climax of the movie, and that's where it kind of like all comes in.
Oh boy, yeah.
So what was your thoughts on like how they just, because they pretty much just like throw her in there really quickly, just like, oh, this is her syndrome, this is who she is, this is what's going on, and that was pretty quick.
I kind of thought the same thing. It's just like definitely, because you know, going again, these were my genuine questions. I really didn't think in like retrospect, like, you know, what were my thoughts going into the beginning. Like, no, these I actually wrote them down. Like, these are my thoughts going into the movie. Like, who is Shoko? And then, you know, she makes her presence known. See, first I was thinking like maybe only Sakuta can see Shoko. Shoko. But then it's confirmed that like everyone else does see her. I'm like, okay, that's, you know, doesn't seem to be the case here. And then like the whole, like when they start going on dates and everything, and then Shoko like pretty much coming on to Sakuta, like when they're under the forgot what it's called, the table, the kotatsu, I think it's what it's called. They she grabs his leg, and then Mai grabs his leg too. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ.
How awkward that must have been. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like Shoko makes it clear that she has feelings for Sakuta, and it's unknown to why is she coming on him too though, because like in the beginning it makes it seem like Sakuta's chasing her, but then you kind of learn that she's reciprocating those feelings to him too, like she likes him, and I like how when they reveal with what she's doing, like because she goes through time. Like her syndrome is like the adult version is back because she's trying to fix something that happens in the past timeline. And so and I forgot to address this too. Like in the beginning they show a young Shoko, like little like elementary Shoko who's she's struggling to write down what her goals were. In the classroom, like everyone's writing their goals, and that's what starts off her actual syndrome, was like not knowing what to do with her life. And then you learn as the movie goes on, you learn about her heart condition. You learn that she doesn't make it, or at least she shouldn't have made it. That's the thing. And then that's why the older one came back to fix what was happening, because of what happens to Sakuta. And I feel like I'm skipping a lot of the movie. Like,
yeah, there's a couple things where, like, okay, I noticed some foreshadowing, and I started putting, like, I literally stopped the movie and took a walk around my house because I was like, they better not fucking do this, because like I don't know, I'm one who, like, I can kind of see things happening. So when Sakuta grabs the donor card,
right? Yeah, because
I don't know about
the little Shoko's in the hospital.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I at that moment I paused it and walked away. I'm like, I started putting two and two together. Like, this better not be one of those movies where like Sakuta is the one who at the end Sakuta dies and gives the typical Korean drama trope. It's like, this isn't a Korean drama. Don't do this to me.
Well, I didn't pay attention too much to, like, when he grabbed the donor card. Like, I just thought he just grabbed. I didn't even, my dumbass, I didn't even consider the fact that he was the one applying for it. Because it was him and Futaba that was at the hospital.
Yeah, it was them. Yeah,
because Futaba's
wait, no,
Shoko knows Futaba too.
I think it was Mai there.
Is it Mai? I thought it was
I think
Futaba.
so. It could have been one or the other. But I only know this because I'm way too, like, I know how you say you don't want to get technical, but I am, like, over analytical. I had a nickname called the Overanalyzer as when I was younger. My friends would call me Overanalyzer. But that's why I'm able to see this and pick up on this right away. And then, like, they move on towards going on the date, and then you see the scar on Shoko's chest, and then
like, once they showed that, I kind of put two and two together, and I was like, oh, so that's what it was. But I wasn't, like, too caught off guard though. Like, if anything, I was wondering, because when she explained that she's, like, time traveling, it kind of made sense for me to think, like, okay, so maybe she's trying to save Sakuta. So I didn't think he was gonna die, but at the same time, I knew that maybe, like, a butterfly effect, something was gonna happen.
Right.
So
I didn't know what to think of that too. I was like, okay, they tell us, like, they give all these hints that this is about to happen, but why? So it's, I was too hung up on the thought, like, don't do this to my boy. Then as to why, but that would have been a good question to ask, because the next thing that happens, if it's okay to progress,
when they go on the date, Shoko gives him, like, she tells him about the light event, or the light festival, because they go on the date, and she's dressed up in the wedding dress, and they do like a fake wedding, because obviously she's in love with Sakuta, and I just thought that was kind of weird too, though. But it was definitely just a plot device to show Shoko's chest, and not in that way, but to show the scar on her chest.
Yeah, and I like how Futaba points that out. Like, so you're looking at her breasts.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just the plot device to show that detail of Shoko's goal, and then when she tells him like, "Oh, let's meet at the Lights Festival at this time at this place," and then when Sakuta, I think Mai came back for the holidays, right, from her acting gig, and so she goes, "Oh, you know," she says she asks to go to the same place, and then and Sakuta like thinks and goes, "Oh no, that's where Shoko wants to meet me, so let's just go to the aquarium."
Right.
And then this is I'm pretty sure this is the part where you want to talk about, like, when he goes, you know, knowing that his heart goes to Shoko because Shoko tells him this, like, knowing that his heart goes to her, he's thinking of like, am I gonna die here? Am I gonna die here? And then this is the part that fucked me all up right here, because this is why I looked up the endings explained, because I got so I hate how fast these details went, because like I got so confused when he was thinking like when he looks back at the lights and he's like not when I look at hindsight, I realize how stupid I am, but like he looks back and he's like, you know, she fucking lied, like, you know, she knew what was gonna happen, and so he runs back, and then that's when you know. It kind of leads up to he realized that he doesn't die going to the aquarium. He dies going to the Lights Festival. And then that's where, you know, like, he's running back, he sees Shoko, and then you see the sliding truck, like typical isekai animes, the sliding truck coming, and then bam, Mai pushes him and she gets struck. And
that kind of like, okay, so I had a couple questions about that too. So like, so Shoko knows that Mai wants to go to the festival.
Yeah,
in her timeline, Sakuta goes to the festival and gets hit by the truck.
Yeah.
But also, and here's where it kind of loses some continuity for me, because now Shoko knows that. So part of me, I don't know if Shoko knows that Sakuta is going to go to the festival, and now knowing that if Shoko is just all knowing, that she probably knows that he's going to tell Mai to go somewhere else, not the Lights Festival, because he doesn't want to see both of them there.
Yep.
She doesn't. Mai's not going to want to see Shoko there. So maybe Shoko tells Mai to. Oh, Shoko tells Sakuta so that knowing Sakuta won't want to go to the Lights Festival, to try to get him to go away from the accident.
So she's Shoko's betting on the fact that if she's there and Mai, because she knows that Mai wants to go to that festival, so she's betting on the fact that if she's there, it's gonna make Sakuta take Mai somewhere else, and that way he doesn't get hit by the car. And the thing is, she knows that if he doesn't get hit by her, she knows that she won't have the heart, and like she's sacrificing herself for Sakuta's happiness. And that's where kind of fucked me too. I was like, yo, okay, so she's like, you know, she's risking it all at this point.
Yeah, and this is when he rushes to Shoko to confront her, like, you know, hey, like, why are you doing this to save yourself?
Yeah, so that's why he runs back to the Lights Festival, knowing that Shoko's there.
And then what happens?
I don't think he know. But the thing is, I don't think he knew that's where he was supposed to die, though. I think he knew he was gonna die there, but he ran back without question to go ask Shoko, like, why are you doing this? Because you knew that this was gonna happen, you know. So why are you leading me away from everything? But I think in the heat of the moment when he ran,
he go confront Shoko back into his destiny.
Yeah, and then that's when Mai came out and
saved
the desk. Yo, so
oh my god, bro, like,
so when that part happened, right? So when Mai gets hit by the fucking car, I did not see that shit coming at all.
Oh my god, that was like the biggest, probably one of the biggest plot twists. Like, I was I actually have that in my notes here, like the plot twist.
Like it turned to like another I want to eat your pancreas type of thing. And like I was like, yo, so like this is what happened, bro. Like I was not expecting her to get hit. You know, I was thinking that maybe initially I thought that if he was to die, that his heart would still go to Shoko, but the focus would go to Mai in the movie now. But no, that's not the case. Mai saves him, and she dies in the process. And that part fucked me. That part fucked me all up. Put it that way.
See, here's a play-by-play for me. I shouldn't have done a lot of things that I did. But so I looked at the point and when this happened, because in my mind I already kind of imagining this happening. And okay, they wouldn't foreshadow this without I know how they're writing stories. I know they're not gonna end it with just Sakuta dying and giving his heart to Shoko. Because I looked at the tracking bar and I was like, oh wait, we're only halfway through the movie. No, there's more that's happening. I shouldn't have done that. Me
too. I did that too. I was like, fuck.
And then man, for the second time I was just like absolutely gutted. Like I was like, there's no fucking way. And then that my passed away. Then I started to think like maybe this is the reality that's gonna happen, because maybe the title of Rascal Doesn't Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai is like more so of him saying, I know it's a light novel title, so you can't really like, go to balls to the wall with what it means. But I started, they do a really amazing job of like encapsulating like the reality of that timeline, but yeah, no, that ate me apart to like seeing everyone, especially Sakuta, dealing with that, and then like Noluka kind of like getting mad at like Sakuta, like you're supposed to protect her, like all these real things that people would probably feel, over that.
No, and then the part where they reveal that her heart went to Shoko too. So instead of receiving Sakuta's heart, Shoko receives Mai's heart.
Right. So yeah, because they meet on the beach again.
Yeah.
And then in this timeline, in this reality, the future of that outcome is that Shoko has Mai's heart, because she signed a donor card too, pretty much.
Yeah. And this is where I got a little bit confused too. So like after these events, after Sakuta realizes he can't live life without Mai, Shoko tells him that she brought him back, right? She's like, with not her quirk. I keep thinking quirk, not her quirk, but with her syndrome, she brought Sakuta back to the night of the event. So this is where like a lot of the prior syndromes all kick in, not being visible, time leaping, the double characters fusing,
right? So you see everything that happens in the actual season. They all
roll into one.
Tropes show up here.
Yeah, I thought that was super amazing. I loved it. I love the details that they threw in there. Him wearing the bunny suit, Koga being the only one that could see him. Him trying not to be in the same existence as his double, and then when he sacrifices himself, the future Sakuta sacrifices himself to save the past Sakuta. They fuse, and then comes back to Kaedae with the memories. After that happens, Sakuta realizes like, look, the only way we can make this work is if we help save the younger Shoko. And then I got confused here too, because there's so much time leaping at this point, and because like Lapis's demon or devil, this outcome wasn't the real outcome of the story.
Right.
Excuse me. So this reality wasn't the actual reality, and that's where I got so confused here, because they look back at Shoko's notes, and because he saved himself, when he goes see Shoko again at the hospital bed, she regained her memories of the older Shoko, and she tells him everything that they went on, the date, what happened, and like she tells him like, I did what I wanted to do, but like at the same time, like what her list, her name, I think was it her name or her list was shortened, and so Mai and Sakuta like finished off the list for her. But then this is where like I got so confused too, because when they're on the bus and they're discussing, like Sakuta tells her, like, in order to fix this, we have to go back, and if we help Shoko, that means that she won't help me, and it won't cause the domino effect of me finding you and all that stuff.
Right, and then he promises her that he's gonna find her,
Yeah.
and all this and that. So they both decide that, because they realize that like everything that they're experiencing is actually the future. So there's 3 versions of Shoko. There's 4th grade Shoko, there's 7th grade Shoko, and then there's college Shoko. This is all happening. I love, because you don't realize, but the movie starts with Shoko, 4th grade Shoko writing the paper, and you think that's just like a little flashback, but no, that's actually the current present of the movie.
Yeah, so the realities are happening simultaneously then, right? Is that what it is? Because I'm so confused at this point.
Okay, so what's happening is just like Koga being, trapping time when she was being asked by on the day that that guy was gonna ask her out. Because she's in a Shoko actually mentions this to Sakuta before she sends him back in time. Like, in order for this to work, you have to not accept reality. So he kind of urges Sakuta to realize that this is not a reality, and that, you can go back, because in reality, this really is it really is not reality. So you don't have to accept it. So all of this is happening because Shoko is not accepting the future, and in the same way that Koga is able to retain all of her every time the day starts over, she's able to retain all the information of days moving forward. Like, her memory doesn't get reset. So, and it's pretty interesting though, because I did a little research into quantum entanglement and what that actually means. So let's just say, if I can segue just a little bit.
Yeah, I need this explanation because I'm still confused as fuck.
Okay. I'll break it down into a couple of things. Quantum entanglement, or quantum mechanics, dictates that. Well, let's just use the example where, remember yesterday when you asked me, did I watch the movie yet, right? Yeah. Let's use that as an example, because I think that's a good one. So in that scenario, I was in a superposition. I either watch it or I didn't watch it, right? And let's just say that, because to you, it's either I watch it or I didn't watch it. I both watched it and I didn't watch it at the same time. But let's just say that I traveled to another dimension, right? Or another galaxy, right? Let's just say I went to another galaxy, and I mean, the superposition still exists. I either watch it or I didn't watch it, but the fact that I did watch it confirmed it, even without you knowing if I did or not, because it states that let's just if there were two. If we break down Schrodinger's cat into another thought process, to where now we have 2 cats, right? And we have 2 bombs. One of them is a dud, and one of them is an actual bomb. You take one with you, and you go to Japan, right? Or you go to a different planet. You go to Mars, and I have mine here. Well, it states that again, until the observations are confirmed, your cat is both dead or alive, or my cat is dead or alive. But it's more so either my cat is dead and yours alive, or your cat is dead and mine is alive. When I open that and confirm whether the cat is dead or alive, quantum mechanics states that information is instantaneously realized and confirmed to you, whether or not you know or not, the reality for you is that it's the opposite of mine. So if mine is dead, instantaneously yours is alive, you know. So with that in mind, it states it's kind of like a play on it, stating that like Shoko's memories, everything that she observes, is instantaneously spread across all of them, and you kind of see this come true because things
Yeah, like
that
when she was in the hospital bed, she remembered
right,
what happened.
right. Well, that and also like in her notes, things change. Um, or her paper changes. So at first it says I forgot what it says at first. Um uh I think at first it said that she wants to do all these things, and these are all the things that he did with her. I guess go on the date and experience like your first love and everything like that. But then so the timeline happens that Shoko sends I was gonna say Kazuma. Shoko sends Sakuta back to before, and then future Sakuta sacrifices himself, which is actually a pretty good example of quantum entanglement, because even though they talk to each other, which I think is a plot hole, because Sakuta did talk to Sakuta.
Yeah.
That was kind of a plot hole because they did kind of confirm it. But again, it gets a pass because it's a science fic, a sci-fi ish anime, supernatural anime. But because Sakuta doesn't know that the other Sakuta is in a bunny suit, he pushes him out of the way, saves himself, and then he looks and sees that he's gone. The other one has gone, and they've both manifested into the same body. And then so they go back, and then they read the paper again after he talks with Shoko before she passes. Not really passes, but before she goes to sleep. And then she's telling him that I'm sorry that I dragged you into all this. I'll go back and fix it. So that's also her stating that now she's going to go back to her 4th grade self and fix all of this. And then we go to Mai and Sakuta. They're looking at the paper for the last time, and it says, I think it says that I forgot. We'll have to we'll look it up and talk about it again afterward. But anyways, it happens when they go to sleep, that all the memories get reverted, because 4th grade Shoko knows everything that all the iterations of Shoko knows. Because remember, this is her playing everything out.
Yeah.
This is her playing out, all the potential futures. So it's her kind of gathering all the information. And she kind of fixes it. But what's said on the paper for the last time they check, whenever Sakuta draws the flower around it, it has to do with Jesus. You know what?
Look it up, because I'm still kind of confused still. See, this is why I got so confused. I hate time loops like this, where there's just so much butterfly effects going on. And so since you're still looking it up, this explains why when Sakuta fell asleep, that's why he saw all those memories, right? Yeah, that's where everything was kind of colliding together.
Sleep, all those things.
Yeah.
All those things are being undone.
Yeah, so everything that's happened to him was gone. That's when him and Mai fell asleep on the bus. He was, the last thing he sees is everything that he's gone through being undone.
Pretty much, yeah. And then so when they start realizing that it's the future, it's because when 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 they do save they save Mai from dying.
Yeah.
And then Nolika has memories of Mai dying, and Futaba has memories, or they have dreams, not memories. But they
Yeah.
have so Nolika has a dream that Mai died in a terrible accident. And Futaba has a dream that she brought Futaba to stay at her place because he was miserable. So this is where they kind of like realize that like this is
It's like it's all shared.
well
Sort of.
it's kind of like the I don't want to say it's a version of Schrodinger's cat, but it's kind of they realize that like that reality still exists somewhere, because I guess in a sense that like Schrodinger's cat is still, none of this has been confirmed yet because
Right. So at this
because
point, it's just like open interpretations of what the future could have been, but like they're
Right,
all
but-
experiencing it in a different way.
but because these things still exist, maybe this is a good explanation for it, but it shows that like the no one's confirmed Schrodinger's cat or not yet, so they know that they're still in a future simulation.
Right.
So when they realize that, then they realize that like it's all the current present is Shoko, 4th grade Shoko, which
Yeah.
is she's still writing her paper. But okay, let me see. I think I might have found something. One thing I will say though is I love Mai's development.
Yeah, like how she was accepting of what was happening with Shoko and how she understood it, the situations that was going on. But I also like the part where when future Sakuta came to visit Mai to tell her
Yeah.
to stay.
Yeah,
And she's like, well, I knew you were gonna do something stupid, so that's why I went. Like
yeah.
that part hit me pretty hard too, because like she understood that no matter what was going to happen, whether they try to save his life or not, that Sakuta was going to go back regardless. He was going to go back and try to fix the situation that what was going to happen to Shoko.
Yeah, well, that definitely, that because you see in her eyes when she turns around, she's like really serious.
Yeah,
Like she's like, I have somewhere to be, and then like, but for me, it's just like because usually anytime it's dealing with like another girl or like a threat to anything, Mai's usually, like I said, she's usually really composed, and then when you see Mai really start to break, that's what really like gutted me too, because
Yeah.
you're just kind of like man, I know, because they say it a lot there too, that it's just like you think that, or Mai says I love you more than you think,
yeah,
and then I think it's right here. So they go on the date, right? And then in the wedding dress, right? Shoko and Sakuta. And then after that, he goes to visit her, and this is where he tells her that I'll come to visit you every day. But he sees on her note that it says, promise to go on an important date on Christmas Eve, right? So future Shoko knows this. This actually is a very good point. So future Shoko knows this because this is at this time when they're in the wedding dress. I think that's when Shoko tells Sakuta to meet me for the Christmas lights,
yeah,
So that's future Shoko. But 7th grade Shoko, who's in the hospital, doesn't know this, but yet it's written on the paper, so she does know this. So that's kind of like explaining.
Oh yeah.
The
Okay, so
phenomenon.
that's why like the little Shoko told him to like go on a date with me, or something, or go with me to the event, because she wanted to go. Like the younger one asks him to take her to the event for Christmas, something like that, right? She asks him, She asked Sakuta or something like that.
Oh yeah, with all of them.
Yeah.
But then now it says date on
Yeah.
Christmas. And then Shoko knows that Mai's gonna be there because I think she told I think Mai mentioned that to
Well,
Sakuta
the
around
thing is,
Shoko.
I think Shoko, the older Shoko, knew because she knew that him and Mai were going to go be there,
Yeah.
and because of that event, that's why she asked.
He was trying to tell her to go away.
Yeah.
But he ends up going anyways and dying. Or and Mai dying. Okay, so it says this on it says promise to go on an important date on Christmas Eve. And then the final note that they read. Because there's another time where they in between here and there where they check on it and it's been erased.
Yeah.
And then the final note says I will live on cherishing the phrases thank you, you did
Yep.
your best, and I love you.
Yep.
Someday I want to be a kind person. And this is kind of what the theme of like when Shoko first meets Sakuta, what she kind of instills into him.
Yeah, because
But
she tells him that you're the reason why I want, like, because it's kind of like full circle. Like she tells him this, and then in the future where he meets her, he tells her what she told him.
Mhm.
So it's like it's a full circle effect. But my confusion came from is like since Sakuta knows that it's because of fourth grade Shoko, he visits her, right? He goes and tells her how to live her life or something like that, and then she
No, I don't think he does that. Oh, it's
He
the
does?
fourth grade Shoko?
yeah, like because something happens, right, to where fourth grade Shoko, at the end where she gains confidence to write down her goals. That's what it was. Thank you, I love you, and you tried your best.
Yeah. So that's what her final thing was, and that's what Sakuta draws the flower around.
Yeah.
Which from what I found through research is that when teachers do this, that means like 100%.
Oh, okay.
So that's their way of approving to her that's good. But then that's also them accepting that now that she's come to that,
Everything that's happened is gone.
That's kind of why they're crying.
Yeah.
Because they know that she knew all along, and that now that she knows that all their reality of the perceived future is gonna fade. So that's why kind of why you see Sakuta like fighting to stay awake, but then he eventually goes to sleep. All the memories flash through him, and then
It goes to the present time where they finally
and then all those memories kind of transpire through ways that are kind of supernatural, but like because in reality none of that should have happened.
Yeah.
But because Shoko was the reason all of this happened. If Shoko never happened, to Sakuta would have never met Mai.
Yep.
Because all of that. And so it's funny because they go about how like stating how like Mai says that it's kind of strange how we met, right? And then he says, because they're completely oblivious to what it is. He says like, yeah, I've had my fill of bunny girls, meaning that he had a he may have had like a bunny girl fetish and or whatnot. And then she makes the movie about Shoko, and
not
then,
knowing that it's Shoko.
Yeah, and then Sakuta he doesn't have money for the shrine because he donated all his money to the Heart Foundation. And then I guess the movie also spread awareness to Heart research and foundations, which ended up saving her. And then he sees her at the beach, and then she knows who he is, and that's like the sweetest thing.
Right. Well, the thing is, Did she really, or because her memories flash too, right? Because when he sees her and he
No,
turns away, and it's kind of like how
because
when he remembered Mai the first time.
yeah, it's kind of like that. So he knows that he lived through it, but then he just had to remember it. But she has memories of it all because
Oh,
remember that she's the one who fourth grade Shoko is the one who has the memories of seventh grade Shoko and college Shoko. So all those memories, and because she knows all this is why she's able to write it out. It's again, like I said, there's a lot of plot holes, but those get overlooked because the
the
it's just
supernatural aspect.
yeah. If these were if someone were to realistically explain and debunk all this, they would ruin the anime, and they should die. Not really, um, but yeah, no, this it I was up to like 8 a.m., bro, just like crunching all this down. I'm like, what? It truly was like a masterpiece. I think it still would have even been good, if Sokka even if it was one of those things that like where they try to change the future but they can't, and Sokka still ends up, dying, because you kind of see the struggle with all of them, trying to accept the future, like with Sakuta, it's like choosing Mai, the girl he loves, over Shoko, the girl who he wants to save because she has has a heart disease.
I
And
thought
then
honestly,
Mai,
I thought that the realism would have been better had it been like where they couldn't change the future, like no matter how much. Um, have you ever seen that skit by Jubilee? With uh, what's the actor from Maze Runner, that Korean actor?
mm-mm. Or
Or
maybe not.
it's like a Valentine skit where he like meets his future self, and he tells himself to go. He goes back to the past and he tells himself like, "Don't get married to her because she's gonna die. You can't save her. I've done it so many times. You know, you can't do nothing." And then like the purpose of the moral of that video is like, love, through love you will still, you'll do what you want. You'll do everything that you want, no matter how painful it is. So
Mhm.
I think that it would have been. I personally would have thought that would have been better had Sakuta died, regardless. Like no matter,
Right.
they could have just done it to where like he went through all the futures of him saving saving Shoko, or Mai dying, or Mai saving Shoko, like that. But at the end, they could not change what was like destined for him. Like
Mhm.
he should have been dead.
I think so too. Like as much as I really love the play of it and everything like that, and I honestly wouldn't change anything about it. It's a masterpiece, but it would have been really cool to see like kind of like you said, where like because it's a gut punch that Mai dies.
Yeah,
um, and then it would have been a lot better if Sakuta, um, were actually had to ultimately choose to either. Now he knows that it's either going to be him or Mai, then chooses himself to die in Mai's place to save both of them. But even though, but you never really see the outcome of like they talk about it, but you never see the outcome of Mai really being without Sakuta.
yeah.
They romanticize it a lot and fantasize about it because you know I really think it's like one of my favorite scenes was when Mai takes Sakuta on the train and they're like, which one's the farthest away? Like, I just want to get you
Yeah,
far and far away because and then it's just like, you see that desperation from her, just like, I don't want to be without you. And then she breaks down. And then this is at the point, and Shoko actually confirms this and says that the reason why this isn't a reality is because at one point you were conflicted and there was a future that you couldn't accept,
yeah,
and that future was so in a way he could have kind of this is how he kind of became like I don't want to say Laplace's demon, but he was confronted with a future that he couldn't accept, so that's why he was able to go back. Plot armor, it's just
pretty much.
it's like
That's what it
it's
was.
It's
Yeah,
it's like
so that explains why he was able to go back one whole day because he wasn't willing to accept that future,
right,
right?
right.
Okay.
Mhm. He was, but she strictly tells him like this: the only way you're able to do this is if you acknowledge that you couldn't accept the future at that time.
Yeah.
Um, but one of the things I didn't mention is that they do confirm that the scars on Sakuta's chest
Yeah.
was because Shoko has his heart in
Yep.
that reality, and the future her. So anytime she comes near him, they say only one heart of each can exist. So anytime she comes around, that's when it starts to bleed into her because
She's around him.
yeah. So that explained the answer the two questions that I had
Yeah.
about it. So um you're led to think that like the scars had to do with Kaede, but in reality it's just because the events that transpired because of Kaede led Sakuta to the beach where it's all like interconnected pretty much. Um Crazy. Man, like psychologically and like technically this movie broke me, but more so emotionally this whole series like it broke me.
Yeah, it's we spent 3 hours just
Talking
or two and
about
a half really 2.5
okay,
hours just talking about
Jesus.
this fucking series and I know we had moments where we were like looking up information because like that just shows you how detailed the plot was when it came to just using all of these supernatural time leaping sci-fi aspects of this movie, especially in the movie, because like you have to watch. I think as a viewer, you gotta watch this more than once. You won't catch everything on the first view.
Yeah.
And with the details of Shoko, man, like that's where just like you realize like she played such a huge part in this entire series, and that's why that's why I said like earlier I felt like it would have been better had Sakuta died because it's at the end I don't think it was even about him. I think it's about Shoko at the end.
It really is because even the title. So the title of the movie is Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl. Seishun Buta Yaru wa Yume Miru Shoujo no Yume. So Yume actually means dream, and it's actually you. I think has a pretty profound like um motif in like Japanese culture as far as like how powerful like dreams are. Um and like so the dreaming girl in this case is Shoko because she's dreaming. The fourth grade Shoko is dreaming all of this. Um, so it's amazing how they like how subtle that title is, but it really points that because it's kind of a conflict because season one is like Bunny Girl Senpai. You think it's about her, but it's really not about her. It's about like the whole overarching adolescent syndrome or the puberty syndrome. Whereas now it's about Shoko. Anyways, I could throw myself into a huge technical loop with all this.
Well, it just makes it like but that's one thing I don't like either is like it just makes this movie makes it like season one technically did not exist.
Kind of, yes.
So
it
everything
kind
that
of
we
discredits.
watched, yeah, exactly that's the word I'm looking for. It discredits like everything that we watched and seen built up in this story, leading from season one to the movie. I hate to say this, but it's complete crap because
No, yeah, no, it's everything gets rewinded and
everything is retcon through Shoko, and then
I mean,
it's not until the end where Sakusa sees Shoko and he regains all those memories flooding back, and then he realizes who she sees, and she recognizes him, and it cuts off there.
Well, maybe the title is to play to play on it.
So it's like
'cause,
it's fucking Inception.
kind of, but then it's kind of Inception. But you know, the whole idea behind it is that like, it happens, but and it's pretty much the whole show is in a superposition. You know, it's either all this happens, and we get one of the outcomes of the minus the actual outcome of the movie, which is either Sakuta dies and gives his heart, Mai dies and gives her heart, or neither of them die and
Shoko dies.
which is and Shoko dies. But then I guess that's where I kind of feel like the plot kind of had a like they gave us something, they gave us what we wanted in this time versus like a true happy ending versus kind of like the realistic, but you know, at the same time you don't want to see any of them die, but the reality is at that time anyone has to die or someone has to die, and then they kind of rob us of that reality when Shoko lives. So
well, maybe that was like another chance too, though, like another reality where instead of where none of them die, it's through like a donor. They find a donor, which is like another Schrodinger's cat type of event where she gets that instead. But it doesn't make sense either, though, because it's so focused on the three of them.
Well, then again, maybe you could say that it kind of oh shoot, maybe it's a the idea of kind of like myself overanalyzing, overthinking. Some Shoko is kind of like overthinking what could happen, but she's not really thinking about the reality of what could
there's other possibilities out there.
Yeah, there's, you know, it's kind of like damned if I do, damned if I don't. But then like, what if there's one that I'm not thinking about, but it's kind of realistic. But you know, usually when we're in I'm way overanalyzing this, by the way. Usually when we're in like a crisis, like a hard time thinking, we're so fixated on like, you know, what if I choose A or what if I choose B without realizing there's a choice D, you know, or C or D, you know, and you just kind of like, you become so fixated on those two because those are the two that you really want more. And then someone comes along and just says, you know, you could just choose D, or you could just not even answer the question, you know?
Right.
Like my friend always kind of gave me this, it's called the and factor. He's like, you know, when you go to, you know, you go to a restaurant and there you see two things that you want, but you're like, which one do I want? Like, like, do I want the steak or do I want the salmon? And you're just like, why can't I choose? And then he says like, why not just get both? It's the and factor.
Yeah.
Like no one's telling you that you can't get both, you know? I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I mean, there is that possibility for Shoko that maybe she did not see coming either. But I think overall, with this series and movie, I mean, it's got us talking this long about it. So you know, it's fucking good. But I mean, like like you said, there's plot holes and all this stuff. But overall, I don't think it ruins the experience of how great
I wouldn't change
was.
A thing about it.
You know, we did mention things that we wish could have happened, but I think just watching this was definitely something that was worth watching. And I honestly, I'm kind of glad that I bought this on Blu-ray without even like watching it beforehand. So it's definitely made that purchase more worth it. But I do know that it's not a finished series. I know there's still like a volume 7 or 8 that's out there right now, or like the volumes for the books is still out there. I don't know if they're gonna make that into
novels.
I don't know if they're gonna make that into like a season 2 or a sequel movie.
I think it's good where it is. I think they should just
end it where it's at.
Yeah.
I got some people on my Instagram that follow me that they want a second season. I don't know how they're gonna top what happened with Shoko. I mean, unless unless like unless they pull a whole Inception thing, like you're in a dream within a dream in a KFC inside a Taco Bell inside another person's dream, like
You're still in the fetus.
yeah. So there's no way you can top that. I think by that point it gets like that's just convoluted excess details.
I think the only way I would want to see it revamped is if let's say if they assume the that where Kaedae is the protagonist or something like that, leave everyone in this character's plot alone, because everyone's already gone through a journey, and if you were to add anything to this, you run the risk of like destroying everything that's already happened. Because of the whole time paradoxes and because of the whole like time jumping and everything like that, you can easily discredit the journey that everyone's been on. Don't get me wrong, I want to see more of my I want to see more of like their romance, because like
you can buy more for figures.
I'm not the only figure, or there's like 2 figures of her that
I bought her winter one with the blue sweater. I bought that one.
The one that I do want is when she's in her uniform. But I think where she's sitting down. But even at that, like there's some where I just hate that I become like a snob with the figures, but they her face just doesn't look right. Like I actually like the summer one a lot, but I just don't like the whole it just doesn't really take a theme that happens in the movie, because she never wears that in the movie. It's
more
of the anime
merchandise.
It's just
sales,
fan service and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what they did with Rem and Ray Zero. They give her all these different types of clothing and different styles. It's just because it's Rem. Mm-hmm. But man, I just want to say, just to kind of just wrap this up, because I know we've been talking about this for quite a bit. But thank you, Michael, for spending this much time talking about Bunny Girl Senpai. If you've made it this far, listening to this on audio or watching it on YouTube, thank you. Most likely, I've probably, because I haven't been editing or doing anything for so long, so I'm probably just gonna leave most of this unedited. I'll probably chop out some parts, but audio-wise, same thing with the audio. I'll probably just chop out some parts, but leave most of this untouched, unedited. But I did enjoy this review of what we did. Definitely stay on the lookout for upcoming episodes. I don't know when this is gonna drop either. So when this drops, I'll probably either have another couple more episodes recorded, but the one after this episode 104 will be a Squid Game review with my cousin Bobby. We'll be talking about Squid Game, and then probably after that, probably have Michael or Mong back on and talk about some more anime. I've been reaching out to some voice actors too, but I honestly don't feel like talking to them at the moment, because it's just I don't know, I'm like in my headspace right now. I don't feel like conducting any interviews. So
I mean, you gotta take care of yourself first. So you're eventually getting the right mindset for that.
Yes, but right now the anime, all the review stuff, I feel like I've been wanting to do. I haven't been doing it for a while now. But yeah, so thank you to everyone who's listened. Definitely check out Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai and the movie as well. And again, thank you, Mike, for doing this. And
hey, my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me. I genuinely, I'm happy to be here to just talk about something. I'm glad that we both have like a similar interest in at least in our taste in anime. So it was my pleasure to be on here to talk to you for 3.5 hours or so about something that we are both passionate about. So thanks for having me.
Perfect. And I'll just leave it off right there. Thank you guys for watching. This is episode 103 of Spoiler Force Podcast. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also follow. If you have not yet joined the Discord, Spoiler Force Discord server, because that's where all the updates will be going there first. So let's just try to build this community. Michael's also a mod on there as well, so get to know Michael through Discord as well. And
come by and let's chat. Seriously, come by. Let's chat anime.
Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely. I'm gonna try to hold some more sessions where like we just do like not weekly, but like whoever's in Discord, we just have like an open conversation about anything and just be like reckless and whatnot. So yeah, So if you want to get wild on Discord, then just make sure you come on the right day. So when we get reckless, it's not like out of nowhere.
Bring your
But
unpopular opinions.
yeah, exactly. Perfect. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and have a great day.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you have any guest recommendations, comments, questions, concerns, or criticism, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com or message me online on any of my social media platforms.